Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight, a stream that I do on Tuesdays. Hello. Hi. Just to get some stuff out of the way first. If this is your first time here, my name is Tristan Johnson. I'm the host of the YouTube channel Step Back History, and Tristan won't shut up. Step Back History being dangerously close to 70,000 subscribers. I'm just going to take a quick gander at my dashboard real quick to say that, yes, at this point I have 69,934 subscribers. So another 66 subscribers, and we are at 70K. But if you're here to watch my streams, I'll let you know that my streams take place 3 times a week. I have the Monday Discourse, which is a stream I do with Mia Mulder that goes from 12 to 2 Eastern Time, in which we talk about the goings-on in the internet in the day and shit post about history and take a few questions from the audience. Then I have Tonight, which is the show I'm doing right now from 7 to 10 called Step Back Tonight. Happens on Tuesdays. Talk about shit. We have kind of a relaxing evening. And then I do a show on Fridays from 2 to 5 called The Reactor, which is where people send me things to react to, and then I do that. I go by he, him pronouns, and if you want to find my YouTube work, you can go to stepbackhistory.com or to tristanwon'tshutup.com. Those are my two channels. Both of them are pretty fun. And if you are on Twitch right now, I would highly recommend that if you have Amazon Prime, that you use your free Amazon Prime subscription to help an independent creator, because if you don't use it, Jeff Bezos just gets to keep your money. But like, if you help an independent creator like myself, you are helping pay rent, you're helping feed cats, and you're keeping this little industry alive. And if you feel like, paying a little bh of money to help independent creators, I will also mention that this is September, which is a time of year when every September where the subscriptions are actually quite discounted, very discounted actually, so that it actually is, I believe, half price. So basically the entire cut that Amazon would take is gone. So if you want to subscribe for 1 month and 1 month only, you can help get me another emote. But of course, as I always mention, don't do this. Like, what's it called? Only do this if this is money that you are okay with parting with. Good stuff. My latest video on Step Back is on the assassination of William McKinley, and my next video, and my previous video on Tristan Won't Shut Up, was about part of a kind of two-parter on political polarization, focusing on social media and the like. And my next video for Tristan Won't Shut Up that I filmed today is on Mars and the colonization of Mars and all of the sort of problems baked into the assumptions that we need to do such a thing. And the next Step Back video, which I'm going to be filming on Thursday, is about Emma Goldman. And I'm very excited to film it. So should be out next Friday, not Friday this week, but the week after. Because we're already coming up on the end of September. It flew by so fast. Because I was on vacation for a week. Last thing I want to mention, this is the last time I'm going to mention this, but it's important that for you folks who are regulars to the Tuesday stream, I'm sure you guys remember what happened the last Tuesday stream, and because of sort of the growing size of the Step Back streaming empire, it's basically turning unfeasible to keep playing Jackbox games because they're just too open to being exploited by, jerks. And so alas, we will not be able to play Jackbox games anymore. And we're just going to have to learn to be okay with that. And that's everything. That is all of the front matter. So let's start looking through the chat, shall we? I see Matt Lipton's here. I see Poison is here. Okay. Some discussion, some puns about, or not puns, wordplay when it comes to poison and toxic and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so recently I found a YouTuber who vlogs about Star Trek and other sci-fi. Should I take it as a bad sign if someone says they don't want to talk about race? Sometimes it means they're naive, but I wouldn't say that that necessarily means they're bad. It might mean that you're not going to get like super high level incisive commentary if they're just going to vlog about, you know, the things that happen in the show with no talk about social commentary. I mean, I would find that kind of boring, but okay. Otherwise, episodes are just like, it's kind of like we were watching Star Trek a lot during my vacation with my parents, and my mom was like, "What do you like?" Because like I was mentioning how this season is a lot about the war on terror and 9/11 and stuff, and she was just like, "Nobody watches TV like that. They just sort of nobody thinks about symbols. They just absorb it literally for how it is, and there's nothing else on top of it." And I was just like, I always forget every once in a while that there are people who don't know that that things say things and aren't necessarily limited to shallow literal interpretations. So yeah. So I don't know. Depends upon how good this makes me wonder how good this vlogger might be, but who knows? Maybe they're great. I'm not really a person who's into like Wikipedia style, like, you know, Wikipedia style stuff for like the lore of a series. I find that stuff like pitifully boring and more often limiting rather than enhancing of the product that it's in. But I know that you 255 are a fan of Ian Banks and the Culture series, which has been described to me as one of the most entertaining Wikipedia articles to read. Which, all right. So maybe if you just want like deep lore analysis or something, then, you know, whatever floats your boat. If it makes you happy, then go for it. Wouldn't be my thing. All right. In a stream earlier tonight, and currently ongoing, Vivian Woolf argued that even if we're generally against the death penalty, it'd be a good idea to kill someone like Hitler because as long as he lives, he's a rallying point for the right. Thoughts on that argument? I mean, killing people in self-defense is not illegitimate. So, yeah. I'm down, like, what's it called? Taking the hit for killing Hitler seems like a pretty smart idea. Sorry if that's a bit much, but there it is. I don't know what else to add to that. Yeah. I mean, fascism is not exactly an ideology that you can combat with, like, you know, love and understanding. I'm starting to learn. My pacifism's really been shaken in the last, like, you know, year and a bit. Professor Tristan, have you found a way we can play Quiplash without worrying about the haters? Unfortunately, no. Does your beard catch sweat? I can't stand to have facial hair for that reason. No. You know, sweat. I have a Nixonian disposition, so, you know, I definitely am a sweaty dude, but I don't typically get sweat on this part of my face. And even if I did, I wouldn't notice it, to be honest. If I had a sweaty beard, I'd just wash it out. So. Yo, Tristan. Yo, Jim Pennon. Mars, huh? Colonize a dead planet instead of focusing on fixing the one we're on. Hey, King Mob. Um, you have hit there with that line. You have hit pretty much the thesis of my video. So, congrats on that. And you love the mug, yes. I have another one too. It's there's a pair. So, I'll tell you a little bit about this mug. So there's a Mexican couple that lives in London here that they take these. They basically they have a thing called artisano, which is that they take folk art from central Mexico, which, if you guys know anything about my past, central Mexico is one of my favorite regions of the world. One of the makes some of the coolest art, has amazing history, and buys folk art and then sells it here in London. And I guess that these are made by some artists in Mexico City. They're enamel, tin, or what's it called? Steel cups, enamel covered. And the two that I have are painted. This one and the other one are painted to look like two fairly common icons. These are the other one is like a lady, and they are sort of like these symbols of Dia de los Muertos. And I love Sugar Skull stuff and sort of this art style. So I went. They were selling a beer co-op in town that I was drinking at on Saturdays, and I saw those and I fell in love instantly, and I bought two of them, 1 week after the other. They've been great. Let's see. How do you feel? Do you feel if Quebec separated, it would end up descending into some sort of far-right Quebecois ethno-state? If it did now, because right now I think that Quebec separatism is more or less dead in the water unless something really big changes. Because first of all, there's a really great. I actually wrote a essay in undergrad that was about the 1995 referendum, and it sort of broke down the two different ways that it could have gone if the referendum had gone to a yes. And I sort of used it to describe Brexit when Brexit had first been voted through. And there were two options that it would go through. One is that it would be a quick ordeal, that both Canada and Quebec would make pretty steep concessions in order to make the separation process as painless as possible. Then the other one was that the process of negotiating the separation would be so brutal and take so long that by the time it was actually time to separate, public will would have decayed to the point where there would be a need for a second referendum that would fail. And if there hadn't been some sort of agreement, there would be some serious jurisdictional issues that Quebec would have to deal with. A couple things, which is that Quebec is a really big province geographically, and that Ottawa would probably want to have some sort of land corridor to the Maritimes. On top of that, there's the issue of the hydroelectric dams. So Hydro-Quebec is the biggest thing in Quebec. Quebec's biggest export is hydroelectric energy, because in northern Quebec there's just tons of rivers that have hydroelectric dams built on them. The problem is that a lot of those dams were built with the help of the federal government. And a lot of them, because they're in very remote regions, are worked on by local indigenous people. And so a lot of those hydroelectric dams are on reserves, or on reserve land. And the third sticking point that would come out of that is Quebec's heavily reliant on those dams economically. But if you look at the results of the 1995 referendum, that the strongest constituency in Quebec that wanted to stay in Canada were Indigenous people. If you look at the returns from like the two groups that, so like Anglophones basically voted unanimously to stay, which represent about 20% of the Quebec population. And then I think like Francophones voted about like 75-80% to leave. And what really it came down to were two groups, immigrants, or what are called in Quebec allophones, which are people who immigrated to the country whose first language was neither French nor English. And they voted primarily to stay in Canada. And Indigenous nations, which there is like a fairly large number of Indigenous people who live in Quebec. And they voted almost unanimously to stay in Canada as well. And many Indigenous reserves in Quebec, their first language is English, and they worried about what the outcome of a sort of Quebec nationalist movement would be. Now, after the 95 referendum, when they lost very narrowly, like it was by like 10,000 votes or something like that, who was it again? Was it Lucien Bouchard? Or was it somebody else who, God, the name always escapes me. But basically, he exposed that the Quebec separatist movement was essentially like just a racist project. He, on the concession speech of the referendum, he said that he died recently. This is why I'm like, it's sticking. The name is not coming to me. Someone's gonna say it in the chat in a second. But what he said is that the French-Canadian cause lost because of, quote, money and the ethnic vote, which basically was like saying, like, if it wasn't for the immigrants, then we would have won, and sort of pitted white French Canadians against immigrants. But after that moment, and like the energy for Quebec separatism pretty much drifted away. And in following elections, the Bloc Québécois almost was extinguished, which is like Quebec. The Bloc Québécois is the Quebec separatist party. To the point where the last election, not this one, but the 2015 election, or no, the 2011 election, the Quebec, the what's it called, the Bloc Québécois almost disappeared. But that was also a really weird election. But they came back. They're now sort of like a minor party, and they might be very important in the politics this fall, because they may be the deciding factor of whether or not we have an election this fall. So that'll be fun. At this point, though, like in 1995, it would be pretty much assumed that the federal government of Quebec would probably be the kind of parties in the Assemblée nationale that exist at the time, which would have been the Parti Québécois, which was sort of like I would say like vaguely left of center nationalist party. But today, the Parti Québécois is not what it used to be. And now the sort of nationalist vote is split between three different political parties, which is first is the CAQ, the Coalition Avenir Québec, which is a right-wing nationalist party, and is currently the party that is the government of Quebec. And then there is the Parti Québécois, which is like, another is a party that is still what it is. And then there is a very small party that I think only has like one or two seats in the Assemblée nationale right now, which is which is Quebec QS, or Quebec Solidaire, which is basically really only a force. It's a left-wing nationalist party that wants Quebec to be separated, but wants it on like more egalitarian terms. So that is Quebec Solidaire is really only popular in like certain parts of Montreal, and that's about it. I would love it if Quebec Solidaire had more of a base, but it currently really doesn't have much of one. But the CAQ, which is what they call it in Quebec as a joke, but the Coalition Avenir Québec is currently the government in Quebec, which is really interesting because through all of Quebecois history, or at least through like recent like 20th century Quebecois history, Quebec's like political thing was always the Liberals against the Parti Québécois, which always meant that every election, every provincial election between the two parties, would always result in fights about nationalism. It was like, and a lot of my friends expressed a lot of frustration because every Quebec election would be about whether or not Quebec should be more independent or less independent, and they didn't really have any room to have any debates about like your traditional left-wing, right-wing political issues. And without a conservative party, the Liberal Party became the effective conservative party of the province. So if Quebec separated today, which I really highly doubt because it seems that like real like die-in-the-wood sovereigntists are sort of dying out with the baby boomer generation, and that millennials aren't super interested in joining in separation. But I mean, at the moment, it would be the CAQ that would be leading the separation, and the CAQ has already like run afoul of some of the Canadian government many times for doing things like banning people from wearing hijabs if they want to work in public service with their what's it called, their religious symbols ban that they did a few years ago, or about a year and a bit ago. And so yeah, I could definitely see some serious like right-wing bullshit. And also Quebec is one of the two hubs in Canada of far-right nationalist movements. There was a mass shooting in 2017 in Quebec City where somebody who was radicalized by Ben Shapiro et al. Shot up a mosque in early 2017 and ended up killing a lot of people. But like, there are, I think I talked about this in my Canadian far-right video I did like about a year ago, that Quebec has a whole bunch of like neo-Nazi and far-right groups that are just waiting to get active. And really like between Quebec and Alberta, there is like, those are like the two like epicenters of like white nationalists and far-right activity. Not to say it's not in all of the provinces, but Alberta and Quebec are currently having like a renaissance of like far-right nationalist movements that the rest of the provinces are sort of like in secondary position for. I'd probably say Ontario would probably be next in line on that. But like, yeah, like there's a lot of like far-right shit going on out west, and there's a lot of far-right shit going on in Quebec. And if Quebec somehow managed to have the will to separate again, that would probably be the major factors playing in, because Quebec doesn't really have a strong organized left, and a lot of Quebecois social democrats or left of center people have shown that they definitely have some extreme racial biases. For example, in the last election, or in the 2011, between the 2011 election and or 2015 election, sorry, between the 2015 election and the 2019 election, the NDP changed its leader from a man named Thomas Mulcair to a man named Jagmeet Singh. And one of the major changes between 2011 and 2015, or sorry, 2015 and 2019, was Quebec voters en masse hopped from the NDP back to the Bloc Québécois, which you can either interpret as the Bloc Québécois had like a real downturn because of the Orange Crush, or more logically that Québécois, even left-wing Québécois people were just not going to vote for a man with a name like Jagmeet Singh, and there was a lot of racism directed at Jagmeet Singh from Quebec, which sucks, because despite the fact that I had reservations about Jagmeet Singh when he was first made leader of the party, I've come to like a lot of his response to things. He's doing a pretty good job as leader of the NDP. And yeah. So that was a really long answer to a very short question. But that's what tonight's for, right? And so if Quebec separated, would it end up descending into some sort of far-right Quebecois ethno-state? I definitely think so. I think that a lot of like the racist, like white nationalist stuff that Quebec tries to pass is only being held back by the fact that they keep getting challenged by the Canadian Constitution. And if Quebec separated and became its own country, there wouldn't be a Canadian Constitution for them to worry about. And so they would be able to do a lot more white ethno-state type stuff, especially against Muslims and South Asian people. Oh, I'll tell you, I'm going to be in a very good mood tonight because I have found the right collection of things to make me very, very on par. Like, I think last night I had my first, like, actual good night of sleep that I've ever had, or that I've had in a very long time. I managed to... I'm trying out melatonin for the first time, because I've been told that melatonin's very good for handling sleep disorders, and there is a pretty strong argument that ADHD is a sleep disorder, because a lot of the issues that come with ADHD are sort of the effects of prolonged sleep deprivation, and I'm kind of testing that out with this melatonin thing. So I took melatonin last night, had one of the best sleeps of my life, and then also I got a new coffee maker today that I have been using a lot, and so now I'm going to be drinking a lot more coffee, and that means more caffeine in my system, because usually, like, before, my self-medication of caffeine was either tea or, like, going and grabbing, like, a sugar-free Rockstar, which is fine, but it's like, 3 cups worth of coffee in one can, so you have a big spike followed by a big collapse. But now I can just, like, drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day and just sort of, like, keep myself going. And so between having a more awesome connection with caffeine and this sort of, like, using melatonin, I am feeling spectacular. And I've had one of the most productive days of my life. So I'm very happy. Discovered your channel through ThoughtSlime and have been binging it ever since. Well, thank you. Nopo in tasking. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that you have found my content and that you have found it interesting enough to binge watch. I always find it so flattering, and also, like, I don't know how to react when I find out that people have been binge watching Step Back videos. So thank you. Much appreciated. I hope that they are all entertaining. I know once you get to the beginning, things get a little oof, but I work very hard on my videos, and I'm glad that you've got a lot to go through, because I think I have like something like 125, like, just like not counting quick step, just like straight up Step Back videos. I think I have about 125 videos now. So you've got so much content to consume. Does she not know what symbolism is? No, she does not. You're talking about my mom with, like, the thing about taking everything literally. She was basically telling me that nobody really absorbs symbolism except for people like me who are weird. But on top of that, I was trying to talk to her about how, like, even if people don't notice these things, your brain does. And so, like, because, like, one of the problems I was talking about is that in Season 3 of Enterprise, the Star Trek show, that was basically, like, Season 3 of Star Trek Enterprise is basically Star Trek trying to deal with 9/11 and the War on Terror. And at that time, the show was pretty much under the singular control of Rick Berman, who is, like, this conservative asshole. So the episode, like, basically shows, like, a space 9/11 followed by a space War on Terror that more or less says that torture and marauding and, like, violence are all good if it's done in the name of protecting Earth and protecting our interests and stuff. So that was fucked up. Included one of the most racist episodes of Star Trek ever produced, that I found out was written by a guy who ended up becoming an executive producer of 24, which like doesn't surprise me because it was basically like the most like openly anti-Muslim bigotry baked into an episode of Star Trek ever. So that's a whole thing. All right. So if Trump wins, I'm probably going to psychologically comfort myself with the thought that because I'm a white guy from a good background, it'll be a while before growing fascism affects me. Is it wrong to comfort myself with my privilege? I get so many questions on these streams that's just like, am I good? Tell me I'm a good person. I mean, there's something to say you could psychologically comfort yourself, but I would say that it's not good to get that solipsistic, and that there is some extreme anxiety to be brought about by the fact that like lots of people are going to die. Really, whoever wins, but slightly more if Trump wins, and that's not good, and we should be a little concerned about that, just a tad. Yeah, who knows what happens if Trump wins? Who knows? Let's see. How do you feel about the GOP embracing QAnon, and do you worry that there will be violence in the upcoming elections? Well, there are two questions there, both of them very good. How do I feel about the GOP embracing QAnon? Fucking terrified. The GOP has embraced racist impulses, and QAnon is basically an openly fascist conspiracy theory. I'd really recommend that you check out a video by Folding Ideas, which is called, I think, In Search of a Flat Earth. It's his most recent video. And it starts as a video about flat earthers, but very quickly veers into a discussion about QAnon. And if you really look at QAnon on its own basis, you can get a pretty good idea that that QAnon is a fascist conspiracy theory movement, like without any doubt whatsoever. QAnon is because like what they believe changes and morphs, but it all comes down to the main focus of QAnon, which is their desire to have their version of the Day of the Rope, which is a thing from the Turner Diaries, which is that day where basically all of the bad people that I don't like all get like executed, and fairly often the people that they demonize are Jews and people of color. And so, you know, when they look forward to the day when all of the Democrats and all of the Black Lives Matter anarchists and all of the globalists with 3 brackets all get together to sort of kill the, like, all just get like lined up and killed. That's the thing they desire. Everything else leading to that is sort of open to negotiation, but that's what the dream is, right? That Donald Trump is secretly planning for this day. And if there's anything like less openly fascist than this like dream of the day where they get to do the genocide, I don't know what else will be. Whoa! Hello, Lance. Thank you. So Surf's rating us with 278. Holy moly! Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lance, for coming aboard. All right. Might have to turn my thingy off for a little bit because the alert box is going to drive people nuts if I don't turn it off. All right. I don't know if I made it work or not, but nope. Can you guys hear the Macarena, or is that just me? Anyways, okay. So I think I got it. I think I got it paused. Here, I'll turn it on, but I'll make it so the sound is off. How's that? So, hi all of you new people. I'll thank you all by name in a second once things calm down a little bit. But hello everybody. My name is Tristan. I'm the host of Step Back History YouTube channel. And I'm also the host of Tristan Won't Shut Up, which is another YouTube channel. Step Back History is about the past and sort of how the past and today intersect with each other in interesting ways. And then the second channel, Tristan Won't Shut Up, is sort of a thoughts and series of sort of rambling discussions about the world that we are in now, and sort of stuff that has come onto my radar and made me want to pose and think about for a while in video format that just didn't fit the sort of step back history model. So that if you're interested in any of those, you can go to stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. Those are the two websites that have those things. And tonight we are doing Step Back Tonight, which is sort of like a chill evening show where I hang out with my audience and we talk about stuff. And right now we're talking about QAnon. Somebody asked how I feel about the GOP embracing QAnon, and I would say that if the GOP goes official and embraces QAnon, especially if Trump wins, and there's already going to be several QAnon-friendly politicians who are going to get elected because they won some pretty uncompetitive primaries. And one of them has already had the Democratic challenger already drop out of the race. So she's running unopposed now. So there's going to be guaranteed at least one QAnon-supporting Republican elected this fall. So we already established by talking about Dan Olson's video on QAnon that QAnon is a fascist conspiracy theory. And if anything, I think like the alt-right, which kind of had its moment and fell apart in 2017 because of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, which, by the way, I heard yesterday. If you remember, the Unite the Right rally was about a Confederate statue. I found out today that that Unite the Right, the statue that the Unite the Right rally was trying to protect, that statue just got torn down yesterday. So better late than never, but that's good. But yeah, the GOP embracing QAnon is basically a move to the far right, because I think that QAnon has been way more successful to sort of penetrate into American culture than the alt-right. If you think about the alt-right was fascism sort of in the German style, the World War II style, the more openly Nazi people, which doesn't work in America because, fascism and like far-right nationalism needs to be tailor-made to individual countries. And like a alt-right fascist movement doesn't really fit. America has had hate culture for ages and it's never really stuck. But America is a huge fan, and it resonates very strong in America to have far-right fascist conspiracy theories. And so having one of those become mainstream is the way that you transition America to a fascist society. It almost happened in the past with the anti-Masonic Party. And things like it have happened in the past with stuff like the first Red Scare, which basically led to the Palmer raids, which led to a mass deportation of mostly Eastern European Jewish Americans. So I see QAnon in the sort of vein of all of that. And hopefully the topic of my November video is going to be about the protocols of the Elders of Zion and sort of QAnon itself, and how the story of like the protocols of the Elders of Zion leading to like Nazism, leading to like the fascist, war in World War II and everything like that, can kind of have a lot of parallels to like Q drops and QAnon, and sort of it turning into a fascist movement in and of itself. So the GOP, if the GOP ever like officially embraces QAnon, that is them embracing fascism entirely, wholly. And I do think that there will be violence with the upcoming elections, no matter what. If Joe Biden wins, there's a segment of the American population now that will not accept the legitimacy of the election if Donald Trump doesn't win, which will result, and there are people who have guns, and there are people who are mentally ready to commit violence, and sort of with Trump sort of making excuses for that 17-year-old who murdered a few people a few weeks ago. They're already sort of building in their minds, getting ready for being excusing violence, and so that's sort of like a thing that they're already getting ready to justify in their heads. So I do think if Biden wins, there's going to be a lot of like QAnon's already tied to all sorts of acts of violence and murder and stuff like that. They just don't talk about it that much. There's a lot though. You can look into it. For example, like a lot of cases of people kidnapping children and like going on the run from the law because of like QAnon related stuff. But also there has been at least one confirmed murder associated with QAnon, and there's likely to be more. Especially if Trump loses. If Trump wins, I get a feeling that the violence from the state, like we already saw with the hysterectomy thing, like the U.S. state is getting ready for genocide. It's getting ready for mass killing and mass like horrible things happening to people. So I would not be like there will be violence, just whether it's the state or regular folks after the election. I'm not a lib. I don't think that that political violence at the Trump era will just be over if Trump loses the election. Trump is not going to be out of the public imagination until he's long, long, long dead. And he is going to keep posting and saying things for years until he dies. And on top of that, his legacy will last for a long time. So the genie's out of the bottle. And that's just going to kind of keep happening for quite a while. I'm a pacifist, not a pacifist. Oh boy. Alright. Can't we go to the start? Can't we go to the start and fix Earth? I don't know what that means. What do you think about the potential discovery of biosignatures in Venus's atmosphere? That is a cool story. So for those who don't know, yesterday there was a paper that was announced that was shown that there is trace elements of, I think, something called phosphenes. I want to say they're called phosphenes in the atmosphere of Venus. And as far as everything that we know about Venus, that there's two things. One, that region, if there was going to be life on Venus, that would be the region, because it's a part of the atmosphere of Venus, like the upper atmosphere of Venus, where actually the air pressure and the temperature are actually kind of tolerable. Like the part where they found it is about 20 degrees Celsius and about 1 bar of pressure, which is about like, pretty comfortable for like Earth. But the only problem is that the pH is absolutely bananas. It's super acidic. Like if you and I were to go to that area of space, like we would just melt. But what they think is that because the Venus is like heat trap, like acid monstrosity that it is now, it was not always that way. That Venus was not always this inhospitable wasteland. And if life evolved on Venus, but then sort of also evolved to adapt to the increasingly inhospitable planet, that this might be one of the few pockets of places where life lives. And at the moment, these phosphenes, which can be produced, we don't know what kind of chemistry caused those phosphenes to be made. One of the answers is biochemistry, which would imply that there is life on Venus. This happens every once in a while where we get something that looks pretty compelling. Already, I know that there are astronomers who have like risen up to say the very obvious thing that we have to keep saying, which is that just because there isn't an explanation doesn't mean it's aliens. This happened with methane on Mars, which we still don't have an answer for, but we don't necessarily have to say that it's life. And also Tabby Star, which was a thing with what's it called? Like our planet detectors, where they wanted to think that they wanted people to say that like they wanted to ask about whether or not whether it was a Dyson sphere, but sort of been ruled out at this point. And so this is interesting, and it could be a sign of life. It's one of the more plausible places where we might find life if life is if elsewhere in the solar system. But we would need to, work on it a little bit more, I think, before we can, move on with our lives. Hey, Tristan, just popping in to say hi and support the channel before going to bed. Keep up the good work. Thank you, H. Booker. All right, my mug is better. It has Goku on it. He goes Super Saiyan when I pour hot water in. I like those mugs, except for the fact that when you have those mugs are not dishwasher safe, and I don't like. I prefer non-dishwasher safe, or I prefer things to be dishwasher safe because I'm the one who has to clean the dishes. All right. When people say we should fix Earth, I get a little irritated as I think we should green the economy and society as well as reforest. Anything more is a bad idea, as geoengineering is dumb and the only planet that supports life. True. It implies that we know way more about our biosphere than we actually do. And we are more likely, as we've done in the past when we fucked with the environment, we've more often fucked it up than actually fixed anything. Wait, so is Quebecois nationalism the most European style of nationalism in the Americas? Probably. Wouldn't surprise me. Let's see. We should talk about Mexico's dirty war. Oh, I should talk about Mexico's dirty war. I don't know too much about it, to be honest. What have I missed? A bunch of stuff. Okay. Suppose like a psychohistorian told you Trump wins, the left-wing backlash will in the long run lead to humanity achieving post-scarcity communism by 2105, whereas if Biden wins, that won't happen until 2209. What would get you to support accelerationism? Well, I don't know how accurate a psychohistorian is, so I would say I would not want to do that. I would not want to make that kind of gamble. A friend of mine who is Canadian-Jamaican says he feels bad for the First Nations after Prime Minister Justin passed the Black Economic Opportunity Bureau. What are your thoughts? I haven't seen the details about what's going on, but yeah, Justin Trudeau has been absolute hog shit for our for Indigenous people. So I would like it if he did something a little bit more, inclusive. But yeah, I don't know much more of the details about it so far. I don't follow Canada as much as I should. Bouchard or Levesque. It was Bouchard. Okay. I really like media analysis that brings stuff like race, class, and gender. Good. All right. Okay, let's see. With colonizing space, I'm a fan of Isaac Arthur's idea where humans will tear planets apart to build a Dyson swarm. Tear planets apart to build a Dyson swarm of space habitats, and the only celestial objects that will be left alone is Earth, Luna, and any moon that has indigenous life. I would not be a big fan of that because that would be, we have no, I think that again, it's like when we fuck with the environment, that doesn't mean that the environment ends our atmosphere. I know some of the plans of building a Dyson swarm around the Earth or around the sun involves stuff like basically just mining every single scrap of material on Mercury, for example. But because of the three-body problem and stuff like that, we don't know what we're going... if we just do something like that, we don't know for sure how that will affect orbital mechanics and things like that in our solar system. And I could totally see us fucking up something because we didn't know the math on something, and it resulting in us creating a Dyson swarm, but jettisoning the Earth out of the solar system or something dumb like that. So we should probably not fuck with that shit. We don't know enough about most things to start thinking that we could do that kind of bold engineering project. Okay. Were the Quebec Liberals as bad as the BC Liberals? I don't think they were as bad as the BC Liberals because I don't think Quebec is as conservative as BC can be, but they were still, like, fairly, like, pro austerity. They were, How should we respond to liberal-leaning progressives who say things like, maybe we can have socialism one day, but only when we develop the post-scarcity technology like we have in Star Trek or the culture? I would say we don't have fucking time to fix that shit. We've got, like, less than a decade to basically end capitalism, or else we're going to die in acid oceans and, what's it called? Like, we're going to be underwater. Like, there's no real capitalist way to handle the oncoming crises that are going to come from the basically the death of the life support systems of the planet, and we are not close to that. Like, we are like that. Also, you could say that we are already at that post-scarcity moment, that we already, under capitalism, produce far more than we actually need, and that it's just not evenly enough distributed, so people go hungry while, like, while we have people who are worth $100 billion. And I was thinking today, I just realized that if you had $1 billion, if you took $1 billion, you could pay a person a $100,000 a year salary, a very nice salary, I arguably, like, a solid, like, upper middle class petit bourgeoisie. Like, you would have a nice house, you would be able to go on vacations. $100,000 a year is a lot of money. You could pay somebody $100,000 a year for 10,000 years with $1 billion. Like, holy shit. But either way, we already overproduce about 40%. So we produce about 40% more stuff than we actually need. Which, if we... So, like, I feel like socialism is the only way, because we're never going to produce so much stuff that everyone can be taken care of, because the more that we produce, the more unequal the distribution becomes, so that fewer and fewer people get access to the fruits of the world. And so the only way to really solve that, IMO, is with socialism. Like, we're not going to fix the problem. Otherwise, we would have already fixed it ages ago. Have you ever considered taking a look at Flemish Walloon nationalism in Belgium? I have not. It's the first I've ever heard of it. Those religious dress laws, have any of them actually affected Christians, like, at all? No, it seems that it only affects Muslims and Sikhs. It's almost as if the law was designed specifically to target those religions. All right. All right, let's see. Still not caught up. The chat's scrolling by me now. I'm losing my place. Suppose Quebec did leave, do you think it would become a fascist dictatorship? The circumstances of it leaving would probably play a large role in what the country would be like after it had separated. And really, there's too many factors at play to really figure out about what it would have happened, or what would have really happened. Let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing too about capitalism is that it suppresses innovation. It suppresses original research, because while people are finding out how to make while, like, the best minds of our generation are designing how to get us to click on more ads and make, micro beads and stuff like that, we could have been inventing ways to fix material scarcity in our world. But instead, we had to find out a way to make light bulbs, LED light bulbs burn out at a rate so that you have to keep buying them every so often. What technologies need to be developed for a post-scarcity society to arise, and when do you think it'll happen? At the moment, the only real thing that is truly scarce is energy. And if we can focus on getting a really good, strong energy grid, that would be the big thing that would change a lot of our problems. All right. How would the U.S. and Canada react to having a fascist nation in North America? Oof. Something makes me think that we would probably not do very much. We would probably be fairly accommodating, like we have been with other fascist dictatorships in like Central and South America. So we'd probably be good old friends, just like with Augusto Pinochet and you know, the military dictatorships in Brazil and etc. etc. Maybe if it got really bad, we might have like a South Africa type moment, but we would be obnoxiously accommodating. Oh boy. Please record yourselves and find out if you have sleep apnea. That could affect your sleep. I do not have sleep apnea. I don't even snore, actually. But I have a Fitbit that measures oxygen variation, and I don't get sleep apnea at all. Why do you think nations moved away from New Deal economics to neoliberalism? There was a conscious effort in the 1960s and early 1970s to elevate ideas of neoliberalism to the forefront, and then there was an economic crisis in the 1970s that that they needed to address, and because those ideas were the ones lying around that were present at the time, that's what they reached for. And then when the market corrected itself, they then gave credit to neoliberal economics as the way to fix it. So that's the main reason. Let's see. Do I want to see a meme? This is from half an hour ago, so I don't know if that's still around. Fucking Rick Berman. I know. Ruins everything. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what this meme is. J.K. Rowling's new book is being called transphobic by activists and reviewers. New survivalist smash hit The Turner Diaries is being called literal neo-Nazi propagandas by Looney Left. Yeah, oh man, that shit with fucking J.K. Rowling has been gnarly. I hate it. Is a problem with season 3 of Enterprise that it involves all the stuff the U.S. and the U.K. did in that era as necessary, or at least effective? Yeah, it does imply that like torture and like these like sort of like wars were dark necessities. You know, we just had to do it because all of Earth, all of America Earth is under threat, and that was sort of the implicit assumption within a lot of season 3 of Enterprise, and that anything is, you know, the ends justifies the means in every possible way, which I was not super happy with. Yeah. Man, and now here I'm just now getting to the part of the chat where all of the what's it called? All of the people start strolling in from the surfs. When I discovered your channels, I really like your content. Thank you for making such interesting, well-researched videos. Well, thank you, Envy Knight. All right, late to the party. So now we got a whole bunch of people following. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Injecting weeb energy. Let's get hard, everybody. Hello, Pink Bones. Peasant Revolt. Twitch chat, oh boy. Okay. How do I feel about soy? Soy's fine. I like the estrogens thing. That's my favorite part about it. All right, now I think it's about time that I can thank all of the people who came like 20 minutes ago. I think now is about the time I can do that. Okay, so thank you. Zealot, Silent Saudi Oil Prince, CyberSyn Enzo, My Name is Knifes, Video Game Architect, Maddie Wenz, Under the Thunder 13, Hebzori, Trash Dandy 420, Risky Biscuit, Paul Leary Live, Craft Punk, I Am Hormagas, Pink Bones TV, Textures Plunky, Proto Dan, Moki Kisa, DJ Ulrich 302, Del Profundo, Nakamus, Blue Room, Forgotten Relic 0, Ribs with, Tay Tay the Big Gay. That's a good one. Irish Pollock, Douglas _BR, The Bayou Bandit, Eli Navy, Roro, Space Cowboy Salad, Swordfish 73, Ratchet and Dank, Laid Nightly, Songbirdie, Bygone Nera, Castle Wench, Lord Fritus, Prong 999, Pingo 1_E, and Ace. All right. I think I got them all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you who decided to stick around. Much appreciated. All right. And hey, Dale from ThinkFact is back. Hello. I think maybe I can turn on the sound from my thingy again. Thank you, Ping Test, for following. All right. How stable do you suppose the cult of Trump is? He's not long for the world. Does his following die with him? I think the activated far right, I think that if there is, the cult of Trump that's going to survive past him, it's QAnon. And I think that QAnon could survive the death of Trump. Yes, very easily. They could just say that the deep state killed him for trying to uncover all of the adrenochrome crimes. So yeah, I could 150% see. I think that what's it called? Everyone thought that the alt-right was going to be the legacy of Trump and the rise of the alt-right. I think it's going to be QAnon. QAnon is going to be the sort of fascist movement in America that will stick around. Totally. It's going to be a part of American political discourse for possibly decades. Is Just Sud still in the chat? Has he been taken care of yet? I know that there's been some people complaining about him. Is he still posting? Do I have to scroll back to find him? Here he is. Let's just give you a quick old ban. There we go. That's good stuff. Okay. Now I gotta go back and see if there's been any super chats. There has not been any super chats. Thank God. I would be very embarrassed if I missed any of those. Okay. The other day I said if black states were set up in North America, they might end up like Bantustans. Alternatively, couldn't they have ended up like Israel? That wouldn't be for the Native Americans. Sorry if I asked yesterday. I can't remember if I did or did not. Yeah, they could have ended up all sorts of ways, but we don't know, do we? I would hope that, given the fact that, a lot of escaped slaves lived amongst Native Americans in, these sort of maroons, that that would hopefully be a idea that would show that, that a black country would be pretty well, would get along pretty well with the indigenous people. That would be my hope, but, it's history that didn't happen, so, yeah. The other day I said, yeah, I already answered that one. All right. Can't believe there's 145 of you. Oh, I didn't know about the anti-Masonic guys being fascist. Well, I mean, the anti-Masonic party wasn't fascist because fascism didn't exist yet, but it was a largely anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that resulted in them just wanting to throw out mostly Jews from communities. Because the reason why there's anti-Masonic stuff, the reason why any anti-Masonic stuff exists at all is because of because Freemasons were one of the few organizations where all you had to do to join was believe in God. And so it was one of the few social organizations that Jews were allowed to join. And people really didn't like that. Q established itself in Australia using our soft underbelly reality TV chefs. Oh, that is awful. But the people who've done the most violence so far is the left. No. Nope. Who is... Oh, this is the guy I banned. Whatever. Fuck this guy. What about the forced sterilization of women in concentration camps? Yeah, I mentioned that with the hysterectomies. Yeah, that is fucking horrifying. I need to read more about it before I can talk at length about it, but yeah, oof. What did you think about the Old West episode of Enterprise? Is it problematic that it substitutes Native Americans and black people with white-looking aliens? I mean, no, because it's trying to decontextualize those things in order to, in order to get through to white people why what happened, why like, the Wild West wasn't like the beautiful, wonderful adventure that people make it out to be. All right. Hopefully I've got enough time here that I can quickly make a quick washroom break. So I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to give you guys some nice lo-fi hip-hop beats to listen to while I do. Hey everybody, I'm back. Thank you guys for being so patient. Thank you all but the 7 of you who left because I went on a break. Hello! Okay, so if by chance, the next question I got here, if by chance you saw the Folding Ideas YouTube channel's video in search of a flat earth, what's your opinion of it? And if not, do you think that there is a special porosity between flat earth theory and QAnon? Well, yes. It was objectively true because as Dan first of all, yes, I'm familiar with Folding Ideas. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. Dan Olson and I have met on a few occasions, and I really like his work. So, yeah, very familiar. And the new video is great. It's one of my favorite YouTube videos. I think I might actually add it to like my inspiration playlist, which is a playlist of videos that I really, really, really like, and I kind of return to sort of get ideas about how to make videos better. Anyways, the reason he did like very meticulous research for that video, and and I think that there is a large porosity between flat Earth theory and QAnon because exactly as he said in the video, most of the people who were doing flat Earth stuff back in 2017, 2018 are now doing QAnon stuff. So yeah, like the exact same ideas sort of moved on from one thing to another. So yeah, people are like getting ready. The hysterectomies are like step 8 in the genocide 10-step scale. Yeah, that is a big step. I might have to read more about it to what's it called? We'll see what happens. There's little hydrogen that would bar the planet from harboring life. That's very unlikely and would be cool. Be kind of cool, true. Yeah. Again, like when it comes to that thing, when we're talking about the Venus thing, like the chemistry is like, it's more like, oh, this is phosphine. We've only ever seen this made by plants or made by biochemistry. We don't know how it was made. Doesn't mean that it wasn't made by like, volcanism or by some other form of chemistry. That's just the one that we know. We don't really know exactly how it works. But we also don't know a whole lot about Venus, so we could very easily be wrong. Phosphine, yeah. Do you think that there's a non-negligible chance that there could be a coup to reinstall Trump if the Biden administration goes badly? I mean, I don't think there will be a coup, because a coup would imply the military needs to be involved, and the military is I don't know if you know, but the president just got done calling members of the military like losers and suckers. So my guess is that the military not super big fans of Donnie Trump, and maybe you'll have regular people attempt to make. There will be an attempt to do a coup. And it'll be done by a bunch of QAnon weirdos with who will not succeed. What I could see is a presidential assassination attempt. I could see QAnon people try to assassinate Joe Biden. Definitely. But I don't think I could see. A successful coup, at least. What can we do about genocide in QAnon? We need to really do something. First of all, there needs to be the left needs to counter their QAnon narrative with a more systemic, a narrative about why things are the way they are. And I think that QAnon people are aware that the world is fucked up in a lot of ways, and need to sort of realize that it's not some random cabal. But in many ways, you can't really get them with facts and logic. Facts and logic are one of the last things that convinces people. You really need to convince. You really need to show them either the horrors of the implications of what they're doing, or really give them something else to believe in. And since neoliberal capitalism offers them nothing, that'll be hard to do. Now we've sent our sexist former PM to the UK to negotiate trade deals against us. He eats onions like apples, so no real loss. Oh, I remember that guy. That's what's it called? That's the guy who is his name Tony Abbott or something like that. He's the guy who the Australian. I saw a thing with him where he was in a convenience store doing a press event, and he did a thing where just some random guy just went up, came up and said, "Hey, fuck you, buddy," and I was like, Australia, please be totally less. Please be a lot less racist, but please. Never change from being a country that can go up to the prime minister and say "fuck you" to their face. That feels to me like the quintessential beauty of the Australian national spirit that needs to be preserved. And we could also cast Vegemite into the fires of Mount Doom, because that shit is awful. Just in case Australians accidentally thought that, in case any Australians accidentally liked me. Vegemite tastes awful, and you are morally a bad person for liking it. Vegemite. Okay. An alien microorganism of some kind would be a big deal from a scientific perspective, yeah. So that makes me think, like at this point in age, with our media cycle, that, I'm eating Vegemite now. Well, you are wrong. You are wrong for liking it. So, yeah, the thing is, I have a feeling that if we actually discovered life on another planet, and it wasn't UFOs, if it wasn't intelligent aliens, I have a feeling that the media cycle would happen, and then we'd move on. And within a month, we wouldn't be talking about, holy shit, we found life on another planet. We just wouldn't. It would be talked about on there would be a bunch of YouTubers who would talk about it for a little while, and then the story would pass, and most people wouldn't be thinking about it anymore. We'd be back to normal. I think that might even be the case if we find like incontrovertible evidence that there's intelligent life out there in the universe, but we can't communicate with them because they're too far away. I have a feeling that the exact same thing would happen. It would be a big news story, and then we would just kind of move on. And just, it's, to me, like, that says more about our news ecosystem than it does about, like, how big of a story it would be. Whew. The right-wing nuts already have enough to scare them to arming themselves and threatening government offices and shooting people in the streets. They chant about civil war daily now. I don't want to burden them with aliens. That would send them off the edge. Yeah, for real. Going back to that Star Trek episode, is it problematic to do racism allegory where the humans actually have a legitimate reason to hate the aliens? I mean, I think that they're doing like a racism analogy. They're doing like more like sort of a history analogy. Like, about how, like, sort of like that episode with Dr. Phlox and the other alien, like, or the other guy, that, that we're sort of burdened by ethnic conflicts of our past, and that the only way to really progress as society is to forgive and move forward. So it's not like a perfect analogy, but I think that it's still, it still works for what it's trying to do. Let's see. My worry is that Trudeau is so bad that a bunch of people will hop on the right-wing loony train. Yeah, that's already happening. Aaron O'Toole is already a fairly socially conservative leader for the for the Conservative Party that's supposedly not socially conservative. I fear a lot of what will happen if Aaron O'Toole becomes prime minister, like say this fall or next year, and that we're dealing with the fallout of a huge economic crash that's brought about by COVID. Like, so it makes me think that the CHIRP would not survive much longer, and that the unemployment extensions will not last much longer, and that there will be all sorts of shit. And Canada could go some pretty dark directions if we end up in that situation. Not having a complete solution to the three-body problem means that there will be errors introduced into our calculations a few billion years in advance. Yay. I mean, yeah, that's true. Just like, I don't know, just like fucking with the orbital mechanics of the solar system by like just eradicating an entire planet or two planets feels like not a thing that I want to fuck with unless we are like absolutely certain that it's going to work, you know? I wouldn't, like, what's it called? I have less compunction doing it to another solar system that has no life on it, but doing it to our own, to the Sol star feels like that's it could be risky. Near-Earth orbits are currently cluttered with debris, and it's something we should be concerned about if we want to maintain artificial satellites and such. The YouTube Curses of Tiny. Yeah. Space junk is also going to be a problem. So it makes me think that space junk is one of those solvable problems. Now, you know, a clever engineer is going to make something that will fix a lot of it, but like that's one thing that like all we need to do really is like make some sort of clever invention and fix it. But I know that like there's some people who follow space a lot closer who are pretty convinced that space junk is going to be like a very big, like almost insurmountable threat in the not too distant future. And I'm sure Elon Musk filling the sky with what's that called? The Stellar Link satellites is not going to make it any better. All right. Do you think technology itself is effectively ready for post-scarcity? Yeah, at this point, yeah. Like we have pretty much, we produce enough stuff to sustainably make sure that everybody has enough to eat, everybody has a place to live in, and will have more or less their material needs taken care of. It's just that everything's not evenly distributed, so we can't. If we were able to mobilize our economy with like a command, like a sort of like a planned economy, we would totally be able to do that. But at this point, we can't. Maybe we wouldn't have everybody living in luxury, but everyone would be living sort of like a comfortable middle-class lifestyle, I think. The only difference is we wouldn't be able to all eat meat. That's the one thing we don't have the technology to solve yet. We would need to stop eating meat to have that happen. But, so it makes you think that that's going to be a tough sell. Have you heard about the fear that the Three Gorges Dam will collapse? No, I haven't. God damn, 2020, we did too much. More if you take interest into account. I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. Yeah, more. Oh, we're talking about if you had $1 billion, you could give somebody $100,000 a year for 10,000 years. Fucking mind-blowing, yo. And Jeff Bezos is worth over $100 billion. I think he's almost worth $200 billion. Can you imagine? We could, there's so many people on Earth that we could just give, like, just without any change to his lifestyle. There's so many people we could give, like, a upper middle class income to for no reason. And, like, yet, no. In the culture universe, everyone lives on space habitats made from interstellar dust. Planets are left to develop on their own. Would you approve of a policy like that if we were a Type 2 or 3 civilization? Yeah. Sounds good to me. Was there a raid from Birdie? Yeah, Lance from the Surfs gave us a nice old raid. Because Lance is a fucking baller. I don't even know if he's still here. He's probably... Thing is, like, when you raid somebody after a stream, it's great. But then, like, the first thing you want to do after you finish a stream is relax and come down, because it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of energy to do a stream. So, like, after I do one of these streams, I send them off to somebody, go and say hi, and then I just, like, instantly want to go to bed. Because this is, like, me just burning the last reserves of energy as I have left in me. This night stream is probably the hardest stream on me, like, physically. Alrighty. Have you ever traveled so much that you realize people from all regions and cultures have the same similar stereotypes or cliches? For example, in my Cuban culture, there are stereotypes for farmers that closely resemble hillbilly cliches. Yeah, that does not surprise me. Per my calculation, you need to cover the equivalent of 4 Arizonas in solar heat to supply the world's current demand. However, I am concerned with scarce materials such as lithium and other elements that compose more of our appliances. Yeah, but if we had a command economy, like, we could build, like, you know, space solar panels, which would be much more efficient. And we actually probably could, you know, fix things. And I will also mention, Lord Fortus, that, like, when solar panels have been getting, like, I remember 10 years ago when we were talking about this sort of issue and hearing about called, like, Energy Stan, which was going to be this idea that, like, if we needed to use solar to cover all of our energy needs, we would need, like, we would need to cover a space that would be, like, one of the largest countries on Earth. And that's why we need to stay on nuclear power and why we need to stay on coal power and all that kind of non-renewables. But now you're saying it's Arizona. So my thinking is that it's going to be getting smaller for, you know, less, that amount is getting smaller. And also, solar panels are not the only form of energy that we can harvest from the planet. We still have nuclear power, we still have wind power, we still have geothermal power, and if we can ever crack that nut of fusion power, that'll be, like, ginormous. So, yeah. Yeah, I have actually I have an idea to make a video. Someone just talked about Chicago school took advantage of things and were good at propaganda. Yeah, I have sort of a half-baked idea of making a video someday about how the neoliberals, how the Chicago boys sold their idea of, hey, what if just fuck the poor people? What if we did that? And then people said, hey, why don't we try fuck the poor? Why haven't we tried that yet? And sort of killed the mid-century attempt to build a liberal society that tried to smooth out the contradictions of capitalism with, like, you know, bread and circuses. And basically the beginning of the end of civilization itself. Luckily, it's not fun. It's been on my list of things to make. Things to make someday. Hello, Don Dark Zoni. Hello. How would you want the U.S. and Canada to treat fascist North American nation? In the past, you said things like sanctions are unethical because they hurt people more than the government. I would have programs of, like, if I was in charge of Canada and Quebec became a fascist dictatorship, hello, Delru, I would be like, I would operate a safe zone. I would make it very well known that Canada gives blanket amnesty for anybody trying to get out, and would probably clandestinely support financially any sort of, like, underground railroad program that was designed to sneak people who are being targeted for brutality out of the country, or anybody who wanted to defect from the country. And then on the other end, I would do, I would try to push for, like, boycott divestment movements to try and hurt them, especially in the cultural sphere. Like, the thing that really hurt South Africa was, like, movies weren't releasing in the country. Their team wasn't allowed to participate in FIFA, and, like, musicians refused to play in South Africa. And there was just this growing knowledge in South Africa that the entire world is against them. And for a long time, they tried to double down, but that was, like, the thing that broke them. So those would be the things that I would do. And if there was a sort of opposition to the fascist government in the country, I would try to support them as well. J.K. Rowling's going full glitter at a very rapid pace. It's true. It's fucking horrifying. What's the dumbest thing you've seen Twitter liberals say? I asked since the other day I saw some brainwormed guy calling the Jagmeet Singh a neocon. Oh, man. Yeah. What's a bad liberal take? There's so many. There's the new book by, what's his face? Matt Iglesias, that he wants to get the United States to 1 billion people. Which, like, has no feasible sense in reality and is a way to, quote unquote, compete with China. And I think it's like, it's so, like, irresponsible, because it's like, hey, man, America needs to have 1 billion people so we can fill all of the interior with people. And then it was like, oh, but, like, the interior is where all of America's food comes from. So how would you feed 3 times your population and then at the same time use all of your food producing parts of the country to stuff more people? And the American lifestyle is one of the most destructive on the planet. Having 3 times more Americans would be completely ecologically unsustainable. Just would. And, like, he talked about stuff, like, in the book about, like, traffic and things like that. And I was just like, okay, like, you really think that a country of 1 billion people who live like Americans, who would be probably still glommed around urban centers, do you really think that a society like that could even function if people were still reliant on driving their own personal cars? Like, Matt Iglesias is, like, a good font of just absolute hog shit takes. Because the guy's an idiot, but he's convinced that he's extremely intelligent. And it results in some of, like, the most, like, galaxy brain takes that you'll ever see. What do you think of the possibility of Irish unification happening sometime in the next 10 years? I don't really know how the politics of Brexit have been unfolding because of COVID. But it's more likely than it has been in a long time. I think there was like some discussion about it not too long ago, but something makes me think that the North Irish people are not quite on board with this yet. But if there was a referendum, I don't know if it would pass at this point. I don't know what the situation is on the ground with North Ireland, but if Brexit happens and Brexit goes as bad as everybody is anticipating, then I could totally see it happening. Hey, Omnisciism, thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Guitar sounds nice. Did Glinner have a bunch of book money? I don't know. Craft Punk is here. I'll be your cheese partner. So many names that are very internet, I know. I'm only half an hour behind. It's not so bad. I've been doing a pretty good job keeping up. Glinner made Father Ted, which was like an adequately funny show. And also there was a TV show did he do what was that show that was sort of like the British answer to fucking The Big Bang Theory? It was like the IT Crowd or something like, not the IT Crowd. Maybe was it the IT Crowd? But like he did those shows. I haven't watched much of the IT Crowd. I've heard it's like okay, but like I remember I've watched Father Ted, and Father Ted was like adequately funny. But then yeah, he then became obsessed with hating trans people, and so all of that work is kind of like tainted. Thank you for having your great channel here. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the awesome content. Much appreciated. Dig your videos on YouTube. Glad to see you stream on Twitch. Hey! Songbirdie, any relate? Oh, no. Is it more dangerous if somebody more savvy than Trump would be more of a threat? Yeah, I worry about Tucker Carlson. The fact that Tucker Carlson is able to like, as like he's like basic, like he's like very like openly fascist, and Tucker Carlson's able to somehow whisper sweet nothings and convince like the sort of the like his ability to do like red browning is like really terrifying to me. Like the fact that Tucker Carlson whispers sweet nothings into Glenn Greenwald's ear and sort of makes that like Tulsi Gabbard section of the left sort of, you know, the Tulsi, like, you know, the Tulsi Gabbard section of the left. His ability to speak to them and it resonates with them, and like, yeah, like the Intercept type people. That's the scary part. So Trump is like kind of like a buffoon, but he awoke something that was already simmering under the surface. I fear what a more intelligent person like Tucker Carlson could do with it. Or yeah, because like Tom Cotton was sort of like trying to set himself up to like run for president after Trump's done with, but I don't know. What do you think the recent reveal that Q was the dude in the Philippines at the pig farm, the 8-coon guy? Do you think he's Q? He might have been. The thing I'm starting to realize, I think that it's looking like Q was probably not a single person. Is this Jim Watkins? Okay. For some reason I thought the founder of 8chan was somebody else. Like I thought it was like somebody, like it was like a kid who, it was like a guy who when he was a teenager, he was like he had some sort of like severe disability that limited his movement, and that he made 8chan sort of like, and then he like handed it off to somebody, and I thought he flew to the Philippines. Am I getting these people mixed up, or is there something that I'm not getting there? Like, is it the same person? Is that who Q is? Because I thought that this guy was like pretty against what like 8chan turned into. But yeah. So it makes me think that like it's not super important who Q actually is anymore. Because nobody in the QAnon movement is actually going to believe if it's actually discovered who he is. And my anticipation is that Q has been picked up by a couple people at this point. Q has origins in satanic panic. It has origins in all sorts of stuff. It touches on all sorts of sort of pop cultural and anti-Semitic and like fascist like points that are so deeply embedded in American culture that it's gonna stick forever. Like like the satanic panic stuff, it pokes that. The blood libel pokes that. The idea, the like partisan divide in American politics that, you know, makes people think that the Democrat, like, actually gets to the point where there's people who think the Democrats could be like pedophiles and you know, drinking children's brain juice, despite the fact that, like, you know, the Republicans haven't been able to field like a prominent person who hasn't been revealed to be a pedophile like a couple times in a row. Like, Roy Moore was not a Democrat, and like that kind of shit. So there's so many places. It draws from so much of American pop culture and American cultural anxieties that, like, yeah, QAnon was like laser targeted to be like the perfect thing to sort of be the, like, just like kind of like how the anti-Semitic, like, we lost the war, the Jews caused us to lose the war, and now we need to like get our revenge to bring a greater Germany. Like the same way that was successful for the Germans is the way that I think QAnon is for the United States. It's just so laser targeted to hit all of the things that are going on in America at this point. Maybe I should make a video on Tristan Won't Shut Up about that at some point in the future. But like, it draws from like the alt-right, it draws from the Tea Party, it draws from just like the satanic panic and the religious right. It draws from what's it called? Like sort of like more like explicitly anti-Semitic parts of Christian evangelicalism, like Christianity movements and stuff like that, with the sort of blood libel and things like that. That like it's everything, and it changes all the time. So it's like compelling entertainment for people to gawk at. Like, for the fact that there's several QAnon YouTubers who just interpreting Q drops is just like an entire full-time YouTube gig. The fact that there are several non-QAnon podcasts that are about like analyzing and like watching QAnon, like QAnon Anonymous and TrueAnon, like those things, like the fact that those can be a grift, that, or not a grift, but those can be like, you know, a racket that works, shows like the power that this movement is going to have. And yeah, and also I think some people are talking about in the chat that also QAnon hits New Age spirituality and New Age, like kind of like New Age stuff and alternative medicine stuff, which like is huge in America because it's really easy to turn to alternative medicine when your medical system is privatized and you can't afford to go to an actual doctor. So you start turning to, like, you know, snake oil salesmen and charlatans. And so QAnon can fill in that too. Like, it all... The only thing that I haven't seen QAnon really bring in a big way that would like cement all the things is that if QAnon started talking about feminism in video games, and that the video game feminists are also part of like what makes QAnon, is also like roped into QAnon somehow. You need to get like the Sargons of Akkad. I don't even know if Sargon of Akkad's into it or at all, but something makes me think that would it would touch his brain in just the way that his brain likes to touch things. But yeah. Imagine being so stupid that you think that zombie John F. Kennedy Jr. is sending you special messages on 8kun about how all celebrities and deep state people are trafficking children in order to kill them, harvest their adrenal glands, and have wild parties getting high off of adrenochrome, a substance that can be made by letting an EpiPen expire and thinking you're going to educate others. Oh, yeah. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be compelling. Because the chief thing about conspiracy theories is that it gives you a dramatic, cinematic, and like spectacle way to look at the complexities of the world. Flame Knuckle, thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Long live the Freemasons. My grandfather was a Freemason, and my great-grandfather was a Freemason. Different sides of my family, but yeah. My great-grandfather was a Freemason, and he was also a pacifist, and also built homes for the Inuit, and, like, you know, was considered one of the nicest people to ever live, or one of the nicest people to live, according to people who knew him. He died before I was born. And my grandfather was, you know, a guy who liked to sit on a couch and watch baseball games. And he was a member of Freemason. I don't think he was secretly plotting to ruin the world. One of these days... Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Apparently Germany and Denmark have QAnon now, too. I have seen that. My throat is dry. Kind of hope not, but if that's what it takes for people to realize she's transphobic as fuck, yeah. I feel like Harry Potter's been ruined for me. I was out with some friends on Saturday night, and one of them is reading the Harry Potter books, and I was just like, oh man, I can't do it. I can't... It's a good book series, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's great for kids to read, but like, man, I can't read it anymore. It's so tainted with J.K. Rowling's hate. That's just me. See you later, Callie C and Bayou Bandit. Although Faith Goldie hates QAnon mainly because she thinks that too is a Jewish conspiracy, which how can you be too anti-Semitic to trust fucking QAnon? Yeah, sometimes who think that a lot of those right-wing grifters are going to change tune at some point because they'll realize that the money and the clicks and the views are in QAnon, and Faith Goldie will join in. They will all become QAnon people at some point. All of those like right-wing content creators, most of them anyway, are in it for the money, and if they know that they can get their white nationalist dreams to come true and make a good amount of money while at it, then is in QAnon, and they'll do it. They'll fucking do it. What's it called? Once, like, you know, the moneyed right starts to get into QAnon or realize that QAnon is very useful to achieve their political gains, like, you're gonna see Ben Shapiro and stuff get into QAnon at some point. Because, like, a lot of the right-wing grifters are all paid by the exact same, like, 5 people. So all you need to do is get, like, 2 or 3 of them to realize that QAnon's useful, and then they'll just, like, because they don't really have their own positions, they just kind of say stuff. Yeah, I did like that there was a video game, a Harry Potter video game that actually bragged that J.K. Rowling had minimal engagement. That Islamophobic Enterprise episode, was it Chosen Realm? Yes, it was. Should I watch the stream on YouTube or Twitch? I want to support you as much as I can. I don't know if you're pushing one more than the other. Whichever one you're more comfortable with. It's all the same to me. YouTube, there's a little bit of AdSense money involved, but it's not enough to be worried about. So really watch whichever one is more stable and you enjoy more. How long before centrists try to insist that comparing the hysterectomies to shit the Nazis did is exaggerating? Probably already happened. Wouldn't be surprised. But can't confirm that, obviously. Based on your knowledge of history, what do you think would be some of the most effective strategies to combat fascism as it exists in the United States right now? Fucking fix the economy, bro. You want to combat fascism in America? You need a jobs guarantee program, a public healthcare system, and serious attempts to reel back the encroaching growth of the power of the federal government. Jobs guarantee program, so that everybody can get a job if they can't find one anywhere else. Basic income program, a healthcare system, so that nobody has to pay to go to the doctor. Free education, getting rid of student loan debt. All of those things would go a long way towards kind of alleviating the anxieties and the fear that is causing people to lash out and blame scapegoats. What about the chemical found on Mars that showed there was a nuclear war there at some point? Well, that's just, we already know about that, but that wasn't Martian life. That was the Finno-Korean hyperwar that happened in. Clemmy Pie, thank you for following. Welcome to the York Gang. Yeah, there was a Martian front of the Finno-Korean hyperwar, and that's where those nuclear bombs went off. QAnon's going to be America's Freikorps, huh? Sounds like it. If they assassinate Biden and they get a black woman president who's more progressive leaning, why would they want that? I think they would just want to make the statement. And also, like, the QAnon true believers would be like, I'm going to shoot the president to save the children. Like, Leon Czolgosz killed William McKinley, and, like, he must have known that if you kill William McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt's just going to become president, and it's going to be the exact same shit. But he did it anyway. I'm eating Vegemite now. So good. I'd love to see someone tell JT to fuck off to his face. Oh, fucking make my decade. Like, 2020 is a year that sucks. And if somebody on television told JT to go fuck himself, I would say 2020 was a pretty good year. I always wonder why Twitch streamers never show houseplants in their background. It's because this room that I'm in doesn't have access to any sunlight. So that's why. You've never had Vegemite? It's, imagine a brown paste that tastes literally like garbage. So imagine the taste of eating garbage condensed into a brown paste. And that is the taste of... And then pour a bunch of salt on it. And that's the taste of Vegemite. And Australians fucking eat that shit up, and I have no idea why. Everyone makes the mistake Tom Hanks did by spreading it thick. It's got to be a thin layer. I love that, like, that thing they say about it. Hey, Vidchikuk, thank you for following. I always feel like you have to spread it thin. And it's like, okay, so to make Vegemite good, you have to have as little of it on the bread as possible. It's like the people who are like really into scotch, and they swear up and down it doesn't taste like gasoline, and then they like load their glass with ice to water it down and stuff. Who's JT? Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. What would be an appropriate reaction to aliens be? I mean, if we can't do anything about it, it doesn't materially change our lives, why would it stay in the news for ages? I mean, there's like, I don't know, like I feel like the way that it's always portrayed in like science fiction and stuff is like the discovery of alien life would be like this thing that profoundly changes humanity because now we know we're not alone in the universe. But sometimes we think that like our media landscape, we would just brush by real fast. It'd be a big story, but it wouldn't be like the life-changing thing that we've seen in like the past, like we've seen in like science fiction and stuff. The Canadian Conservatives looked down at the U.S. and were like, "Oh, hey, that seems to have worked out well." What's the three-body problem? It's a thing about it's a mathematical study of orbital mechanics. So orbital mechanics and like gravity stuff, like the math that goes along with like, you know, planning where rockets are going to go and how planets orbit and stars orbit and stuff like that, suffers from something called the three-body problem, which is that once you have more than two objects in sort of like these sort of mechanics simulations, that the complexities of the orbit get too complicated, and basically after a period of time they become unpredictable. And so like things like trinary star systems, we can't really predict their orbits because the three-body problem kind of comes up, and it's like we're never able to make one that's like really accurate because like little things add up in like weird ways. And so it's either extremely complex or basically impossible to solve what's going to happen to any sort of orbital system with more than two objects in it. That's the three-body problem. Don't fuck with the shit that keeps us alive. Yeah, for real. They have predicted that Mercury will collide with the Earth or other terrestrial planets because of Jupiter. When's that going to be? We need a way to deal with that, and we should get on that. Throw Musk into deep space. I like that concept. Why do people put bits of stuff in cheese? Sometimes it's tasty. And it's Kevin Logan! Hello, Kevin Logan. Why does meat include chicken? Oh. No clue. Yeah, because, like, what's it called? I know that you have ASD, and I know that, like, the big problem they're having with lab-grown meat is textures. And I know that textures is, like, the big thing for people with autism, for the reason why foods are so difficult for them. And so, yeah, making meat that works properly is going to be tough. Especially for people who have sensitivity to textures. Collectivize the Amazon warehouses. Yeah, the thing is, like, the neoliberal move towards, like, a monopolistic economy means that there's, like, 4 corporations that we need to nationalize, and you've got full communism. So, yeah. As you, if you just, like, nationalized Amazon, there's a huge segment of the economy that's just now public. If I type penis, will it appear on the stream? Yes, it did. Shit like fridges really don't need LED screens. That's true. Yeah, there's been so many like things that we've like added artificial things to upsell and make people want to buy more of them when like we didn't need that shit. And yeah. Is Canada really real? No. Canada is like a former colony, kind of like Australia, but Canada is like a particularly bad country at pretending that it's not just still a colony. I said 4 Arizonas. That's not insignificant. Yeah, but it's a lot smaller than it used to be, and it's getting smaller. The increase in efficiency in solar panels is getting quite powerful these days. Tidal power. Tidal power is a good one. Where is he reading from? I'm reading from the chat. I'm just 30 minutes, no, 28 minutes behind, as is customary for a step back. Why do you think people are so weird about socialist/communist history, especially given how many texts we have on it? Even Wikipedia proving the most common talking points wrong. That would be Cold War era propaganda, my friend. The poisoning of the well about communism and Marxism in general outside of the academy is pretty deep. You talk to any person who was alive during the Cold War, or at least alive and aware during the Cold War. Like, I was born during the Cold War, but I don't remember any of it because the Soviet Union collapsed when I was 2 years old, but or 3 years old, either way. But like the propaganda, the communist propaganda, the anti-communist propaganda runs deep. Why do you think? Yeah, so that's why people are weird. Why is Quebec? Oh man. Quebec. I mean, it's French. It's French culture. And I mean, a lot of my ancestors are from Quebec, so that's my. It's just like it'd be like asking why is Scotland. You know, it's a different nation within Canada. Where Twitch's not working for me and the video keeps freezing on my end. All right, well, Logan Scott, I'll see you around. Any opinions on New Brunswick and their new majority PC government? I mean, I don't like when that happens. It's going to be bad, especially with an economic downturn. Like, we're going to have an economic downturn because of COVID, and any place with a conservative government is going to not experience that well because their answer is usually to do austerity. And austerity is bad. What do you think of Keir Starmer? I don't know too much about him, but everybody who I know who does know about Keir Starmer is profoundly disappointed and very, like, done with the Labour Party because Jeremy Corbyn really was, like, kind of like with Bernie Sanders, that last shot of having, like, an actual left-wing movement happen in Britain, and it dead. For now. Could you also financially support militant groups trying to overthrow the French Canadian government? I mean, I don't know. That might be a lot, but that's like active, like Black Ops interference shit. That's Iglesias sounds like a dude I knew in high school who thought the castles in England were built by nomads. Oh boy. The problem is that Matt Iglesias is one of like the one of the editors-in-chief at Vox Media. So like Vox.com is partly his baby, along with Ezra Klein. I know Sinn Féin has been making gains in the Republic. Don't know about the North, though. Yeah, I don't know what the stance of... I don't know what position Irish unification is in North Ireland right now. The only thing I know about North Ireland is that they've got a North Ireland-specific political party that is extremely right-wing and, like, kind of psychopaths. And the what's it called? Theresa May's government did a coalition government with this party, and everybody was really upset about that. But I think in like the election, was it last year? Was it only last year? Holy shit! Does North Ireland have Sinn Féin a Sinn Féin as well? And did they get a seat or two? I don't remember. I know that what's it called? I know that the Welsh Nationalists got seats. And I think that was like one of the first time Welsh Nationalists have had a seat in Parliament in a while. But I'm not super up to date on British politics, so this is, a very, like, you should probably ask somebody who knows more than I do. It does have Sinn Féin. Okay. So I don't know if Sinn Féin got seats in the last election. I can't remember. Because there was an Irish election not too far afterwards, and Sinn Féin formed government, if I remember. Welsh Nationalists is a real thing? Yeah. Isn't it? Honestly, it's like, I could not pronounce the title. It's like, it's Welsh. Yeah, they do have a party. They do, like, they're called the PC party. Let's just go with PC. And they got some seats in the last election, which, like, if fucking Wales gets independence before Scotland, like, come on, Scotland, you guys are royally fucking it up. You guys are dragging your feet. Do the thing. Do the thing we all know you want to do, Scotland. If Wales beats you, that's a fucking embarrassment. I can say that. I found out that in the 1700s, one of my ancestors came from Wales to Newfoundland, so I guess I'm probably like 256th Welsh or something, so there you go. In one of his books, David Graeber asserts that through most of history, ethical arguments in favor of slavery were kind of treated as laughable. Slavery was evil, but just a fact of life. Is that accurate? If yes, does that mean it was sort of similar to how we think about homelessness today? It's not a bad comparison, but yeah, there weren't, like, people, like, seeing slavery as a good thing was like a minority opinion. It was always called like the peculiar institution, and yeah, a lot of the times the argument was it's not nice, but it's necessary to keep the economy running. And also a lot of like working class white people were under the impression that if slavery were ever ended, that it would create this like flood of black workers that will take your job type thing. So, yeah, that was totally a thing. There's actually a really good scene in Lincoln that sort of like the movie Lincoln that sort of shows that when there's this random guy from the public who's visiting Lincoln, and he asks him about the 13th Amendment, and the guy like kind of like goes on this racist screed about why he doesn't want to end slavery. All right. Q is definitely not one person, yeah. Could you see Cotton as VP for Fucker Carlson? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what their relationship is like. Why does it matter who Q is? The damage is real regardless. That's a good answer. I mean, it's good to know for like the history books. Like when historians in the future have to write about who Q is, when like, you know, who was the random person who started the fascist movement in America, or it'd be good to know who that is. Does Q believe Q? No. Because Q plays a character that he's like some sort of guy inside the Trump administration who knows things, who knows about future plans, none of which come true. So yeah, whoever's actually making the Q drops doesn't believe it. What do you think of the show Rising by the Hill as well as the Majority Report and the David Pakman show? They're fine. I've never seen Rising by the Hill. Oh, Rising by the Hill. Is that the show that has Crystal Ball on it? That show I'm not a fan of. Crystal Ball, what's it called? Being buddies with that far right Nazi guy. I'm not a fan of. Crystal Ball is I don't know why Crystal Ball associates with that guy, but the Majority Report and David Pakman show, like, they're fine. They're sort of like mainstream progressives. They're not like I'm not going to go there for any like particularly incisive takes, but you know, for your average, like if you want to get like a daily podcast or a daily radio show to like kind of get your news in, sure, go for it. Both of them seem okay. I think David Pakman is a bit more of a centrist, but I don't really know too much about. I don't listen to any of them, or at least I've listened to them in the past, but I don't listen to them anymore because I'm sort of like interested in other things now. Michael Brooks was great. The Majority Report is probably the best of those three that you put up there. And if you're going to listen to one of them, I would recommend the Majority Report. It's just you know, I don't have time to listen to like a multi-hour radio show every day anymore. Let's see. If Corbyn had won, how much better do you think the UK would have been at handling COVID? I feel it'd be much better, but limited by them not having more time between being elected. Yeah, there would. I mean, the transition would have been a thing, but I think that Jeremy Corbyn would have handled COVID way better than Boris Johnson did. to the point where like Boris Johnson's government is kind of falling apart because of it, isn't it? Would you consider starting your next Tristan Shut Up video with "Hi, I'm Max, the Meatball Sub Reviewer"? Maybe. Not the next one, because the next Tristan Won't Shut Up has already been filmed. But maybe next week. Because, yeah, I'm running out of abuse that I have gotten in the comments. So I'll need to be reminded of that next week, because I'm going to forget. But, well, here. Let me write it down now, because the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I follow Kevin Logan on Twitch, because I haven't been. Because Tristan's a bad man. So I had it copied and pasted. So I'm just going to go and give Kevin Logan a nice little follow there. So that if he is streaming, I can give him a good old raid. And then I will try to remember the Max the Meatball Sub guy. Because, yeah, I guess while I was on vacation, a picture of me was submitted to this this subreddit for people who are... Thank you, Cap Cannabis. Thank you for following. It was put on this subreddit for deep fake portraits of people, and apparently people didn't notice that I was a real person and not a fake thing. I read that QAnon believers are mostly not motivated into direct violent action because their theory postulates that secret deep state is going to make everything come out okay in the end. Thus, they don't have to. Any truth there? I mean, there has been violence already, so maybe not now, but if Trump is taken out of power, holy moly, I think it would happen. Let's see. A 5-minute clip of Sargon's. Can you not make this statement in under 5 minutes? I can't do his accent. I can't do any accents, I'm learning, without being very, very terrible. There was a meme in my D&D game for a while because one of the major NPCs in my game had an Indian accent because his name was Shankar Hanuman, so he's a very, very Indian, and the whole the whole aesthetic of the city was sort of like Indian Rajas and stuff like that, and I could never get the accent right, and everybody just made fun of me, and Matt would always make jokes about how he knew how anxious I was about trying to do an Indian accent and doing it right. But and that I was worried about being accidentally racist, and so he'd make jokes trying to kind of goad me about how make me think about it being racist. It was a weird goof. Hey Zane, thank you for the $2 super chat. Canada's relations with apartheid South Africa. If I remember correctly, Canada was actually half decent. If I remember, Canada was one of the bigger countries that openly opposed apartheid. But don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert on Canadian history. But when I did I do remember I had a friend when I was in grad school who was researching that, and I think that was one of the things that he said. Just playing The Witcher 3 and listening to Tristan in the background. Man, I want to play The Witcher 3. I have The Witcher 3. I should be playing it at some point, but I'm not. Because I am a bad man. No, I'm not playing The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3, I want to play the storyline, so I want to get all the sound. And unfortunately, video games that I can't play while also listening to something get way lower on the totem pole of things of video games to play. I'll play The Witcher 3 at some point, though, I guess. One of my grandfathers was a communist who wrote a book on the Canadian labor movement. The other was in Sicily during the war and operated on by Walter Penfield. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, my great-grandfather was he was a German artilleryman in the First World War. Apparently, apparently he grew up in Switzerland, and was or still trying to figure out how this happened. But he was conscripted into the German army as an artilleryman, and fought on, I think, the Alps front, like the front between Germany and Italy, and fought like, what's it called? Was an artilleryman. He lost one of his fingers in like the mechanics, the mechanism of the cannon. And after the war, the first thing he did was he moved to Canada, and he left all of his war stuff behind. So none of his war stuff is here anymore, and he instantly he refused to talk about the war his entire life, and was like an open pacifist. And he was to his dying day, like tried to help people, tried to help humanity, and like dedicated himself to humanitarian causes. And during World War II, he was too old to serve in the Canadian military, but he volunteered to translate for the Canadian military because he was German, because he could speak German. But he was turned away because I guess they had enough German translators. So that's like, yeah, I have a lot of respect for this person. I never met, and he was known for being like one of like the favorite grandfathers, and like very like sweet and very kind, and yeah. He spent what's it called? He was a Freemason. He spent a lot of time. He went on these like the Masons would go on these trips to the Arctic, because this is around the time when the Inuit were starting to move out of like, you know, their kind of like nomadic and like igloo based lifestyle, and move into like, you know, houses. And so he was one of the people who went up north to help build them houses. And yeah, a lot of respect for him. He was a good guy, as far as I can tell. Hello, Robin. I want to live in a commune, smoke weed, make LSD, party in the woods, and busk on the street while wearing a flower crown as I passively aggressively mess with cops. That sounds like the life. That sounds like a pretty good life. My mom is a rightly evangelical conspiracy theorist, but I haven't heard her push Q yet. Can't imagine she hasn't heard of it. Yeah, my father-in-law is prone to conspiracy theories too, and so I'm always worried that, you know, it's a matter of time before I start hearing about Q from him when I go to America for the holidays. Luckily, I probably won't be this year, but, you know. Did you hear that Twitch is going to start doing automated ads during streams because they're behind on ad revenue? Oh, fun. Yeah, because on Twitch, like on the back end of Twitch, there's like a thing to like run commercials, and like I wouldn't run a commercial on you guys. That would be awful. I know Freemason hate is rooted in anti-Semitism, but generally speaking, isn't the rich having private clubs a bad thing? I mean, like recently I found out my sister-in-law's rich dad is a member of this club that like has all the rich factory owners in my city in it. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, those can be a problem, but like that's not the Masons. The Masons are for anybody who practices a trade. Like, you don't, like, what's it called? The Masons aren't like a rich person club. It's not like Rotary or something like that. It's like, it's very much like, it's very much not that. Have we talked about the $1 million bail? I don't know what that's all about. Sounds good to me. Be burned by hippies in the past. Did you like the game I sent you? Did you send me a game? Or you're not talking to me, are you? That was real and not some ancient alien shit. I mean, it's not real. It was part of the Finno-Korean Hyperwar. So yeah, it was real. It was as real as the Finno-Korean Hyperwar. I thought that was the Ice Warriors. Listen, the Ice Warriors, I believe, were mercenaries during the Finno-Korean Hyperwar, and they were involved. Conservative grifters will come up with some lame excuse like, I don't believe in QAnon, but the outrage against it is an absurd overreaction, and then use that to ease into everything else about QAnon. Yeah. How likely do you think Biden will win? At this point, 50-50. I feel like the last couple things that were released about Trump are pretty damning. But from what I'm seeing from the polls at this point, like unlike in previous elections, unlike 2016, this is why I'm like a little bit more confident that Joe Biden's going to win the election than I was that Hillary Clinton was going to win, is that compared to 2016, the undecided vote is way down. And so like right now the race is already stabilizing, and it's looking like outside of Florida, it's looking like a pretty clear win for Biden on a lot of fronts. Now, that could easily change. Things could shake up the race. But for the most part, at this point, pretty much everybody knows who they're going to vote for in America at this point. And now it's just a matter of like, and if the way the polls look go that way, you know, if people look like they're pretty decided, then it's probably going to go to Biden. But the big question mark, and this is kind of the thing that this is the reason why this is the only thing that I think that could cause Trump to win the election at this point, or at least the most likely thing to cause Trump to win the election at this point, is that the integrity of the elections with voter suppression and stuff like that, that's going to be the kicker. Like, we don't know, I don't think any of us have any real strong idea of how COVID is going to affect voter turnout, of how COVID's going to, like, how the mail-in ballot and the sort of fight over the validity of the mail-in ballot is going to affect the race. And, like, I don't think we know how, we don't know how, the states that don't have mail-in ballots, like, the severely depressed voter turnout, how that's going to affect the races there. Like, a lot of the complication, like if it was a normal election, given the polls how they are now, I would be pretty confident that Biden's going to win. But because of all of the chaos that's going to happen because of COVID, I'm much less, you know, I'm much less certain than I would have been. And on top of that, that also doesn't mean that like right now convincing people to vote for Biden or vote for Trump is like less of an important thing right now than it is just getting out the vote, because most people already know who they're going to vote for. And so it's just a matter of getting their votes counted. And that's not really a thing that like me, like I get criticized a lot for giving shit to Joe Biden for being a shitty presidential candidate. But that's not going to be as big a thing right now as it is, because there's almost no undecided voters in America right now. So it really comes down to like what's going to happen with how good the vote's going to actually turn out. Many Nazis fled to Argentina after the war. Where would American fascists flee if they lose? Maybe the UK. The UK, maybe Austria or not Austria, like Hungary or Poland. Wait, you slagging off Vegemite again? Wait, no, I gotta do this. Oi! Wait, you slagging off Vegemite again? I eat straight from the trash of Australia. Can you get Fall Guys so we can watch you play that instead of Quiplash? I actually did buy Fall Guys. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that a different night though. That'd be fun though. I'm so bad at it, so I know that people love. Hey, Mr. Prime Minister! Fucking love that episode of The Simpsons. I'm gonna take this all the way to the Prime Minister, and he like just like runs over a hill, and the Prime Minister is just like in a fucking inner tube, just like naked, and drinking a Foster's. It's like, oh man, this is so fucking good. God damn, I could watch that episode 1,000 times. It's such a good. Andy! He's like, I gotta take this all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's just like some guy who lives down the street. It's like, oh god. And then he's like, go check your neighbor's toilets, see that they also swirl the other way. And so he gets on his bike and just like goes, and you can see his house is in the middle of the outback. It's like, oh god, I love it. But yeah, when it comes to Fall Guys, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll play some Fall Guys at the end of not this stream, but another stream. Now $1,000 reduced to Boyus. Oh man, fuck! I just gotta stop quoting. Oh wait, it's like, what's it called? Oh, it's just a little kick in the bum. And it's like the Australian flag is a butt with a boot going into it, and it's like, god damn, the guy's got the giant boot. Oh, that episode of The Simpsons is so good, so fucking good. Hey, you've clearly never eaten trash cans. Don't talk about that part of my diet like that. Oh my. The three-body problem is as follows. Come up with an equation that precisely describes the motion of three bodies under the influence of each other's gravities. Yeah. What do you think about the Mulan movie thanking Xinjiang authorities? It's not good. I mean, it's even a bad movie. What if a political party campaigned on the idea of testing out different systems like anarchism as a test to see what's the best one? Oh man. Good luck getting that one sold. Is there no solution to the three-body problem at present? I don't know if it's been proven to be impossible. There are, however, astoundingly accurate approximations to solutions. I mean, there's good approximations, but yeah, when like you're dealing with something that like, you know, could send the Earth like flinging out into space to you know, freeze, and we can live like the bucket full of air life for a while. That's not something I want to fuck with. Remember the Voyager episode I mentioned early on the other day? How would an alien spaceship getting caught in Earth orbit like 2,000 years affect the development of religion? I mean, maybe people would see it as a sign of a religion. I'm not exactly sure. Those kinds of things you can't really predict. Culture's complicated. Sort of like how the moon has affected religion, you know? Like, we would associate it with different things, and it would be different cultures would think it was different things at different times. And then at some point we would come to the scientific understanding that, oh, the moon is actually like, or the spaceship is a spaceship. And then we'd probably want to go onto the spaceship at some point. That was very smart. I'm very good. Well, I got work to do after this raid. Even though you slagged off Vegemite, your channel ain't bad, and I'll be back. 4 to 5 stars I would recommend. I'm afraid it won't be possible to effectively nationalize them. Like, what if they just refuse to hand over the password of the Google servers? Ooh. Good question. My opinion on Amazon nationalization is as follows. If you integrate it within the Postal Service, it would synergize to allow people to buy and sell goods online. If you add a provision that people going on the marketplace need to be cooperatives, that would be dandy, IMHO. Yeah? Honestly, if we could just have, like, Amazon... Like, if we just replaced... Hey, thank you, B. Andy 8A. E.T. Thank you for following. Yeah, if we were able to just, like... get, like, replace... like, take all of Amazon's infrastructure... and sort of integrate it with all of the other stores, then like you could, and then just have it so that nothing costs any money, then you could just have your post-scarcity economy and people would just get things, and you could just use Amazon's like fleet of airplanes and warehouses and algorithms for making sure things get to where they need to go, and just scale that up for the full economy. That'd be my hope. So for at least consumer goods anyway. Can we not put all the solar panels in the desert in the middle of the middle of the sea? I mean, we could, although those are ecosystems that we have to be aware of and not fuck with, but we can definitely spread them out and do that. Liv posting described Canada as 3 resource extraction companies in a trench coat earlier, and it amused me. Yeah, I've said that joke. I've said that before too. Hey, thank you, Matt, for the $5 super chat. Unfortunately, YouTube would not let me give you $9,000 reduce. Tobias! Sorry, I gotta stop. That is possibly one of the best episodes of this. All right, one more. It's like, we call those bullfrogs. Bullfrogs? I'd have called them chaswazers. Fucking awesome. Awesome episode. If you ever want 22 minutes of some of the best comedy that's ever been written, watch the Australia episode of The Simpsons. It's so fucking good. I would like a coffee. Bear it is. No, coffee. Bear? See. Oh, is he why Vox makes such dumb takes? Yeah, him and like Ezra Klein both have pretty fucking dumb takes. The North has Sinn Féin, though they are more conservative than they are in the Republic. Makes sense. Welsh nationalists are a thing, yep. It's gained a seat, but so did the Alliance, which are centrist. Okay. North Ireland doesn't have a government, and Belgium also has no government. Wales! They didn't form government. It's still the same government in power, but with less seats, and they formed a coalition with the Irish Greens to avoid having to work with Sinn Féin. Oh. That sucks. If Wales gets independence before Scotland, it'll be England begging for independence. Wales is pretty based. I believe... fucking Wales. Love Wales. Oof. Okay, let's see. I believe Scottish independence is left-wing sort of thing, has the dominant party as left-wing. Yeah, I don't know too much about the Scottish independence movement from the inside, I'll be honest. But hey, I don't know what Scotland's up to these days. I don't know what Scottish independence is up to anymore anyway. No, you don't like Am I Good questions, but is it bad that I use my limited autistic diet as an excuse to not go vegan? I mean, no. I mean, I'm in no place to talk. I'm not autistic, and I'm also not a vegan. I wish I was a vegan, but I am, unfortunately, the flesh is weak. No. I mean, like, what's it called? It'd be better if we all could go vegan, but I know that that would take a lot of exploring new foods. And since I know people who have autism have a pretty hard time finding foods that they like, that that would be an unpleasant thing to go through. And you're not ruining the world by one person eating chicken breasts, so I think you're good. No one liked Hacked Q's account. I don't think so. I don't know what the story is on that. What do you think of the Dune trailer? It looks pretty cool. It's not as like off the wall wacky like the 1984 movie was, but I'll be interested to see it. I definitely want to see it. I'm definitely going to see it. I like that they cast Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, so that I know that they're setting up the whole series. But on top of that, like I'd be interested to see, because like Dune is one of those like Dune is probably one of the least easy to get into world building of like science fiction. Like, it's very inaccessible. It sort of just throws you into a whole, like, the whole thing about Dune is it throws you into a whole bunch of things you don't understand, and you have like an appendix that you have to chew through. And I'm very curious about how they're going to throw like the massive amount of world building that Dune needs with like, you know, modern day attention spans. I'm very curious about how they're going to do all that. Because the last two started with like a sort of like introductory thing, but that's kind of fallen out of style in modern filmmaking. So I'm really curious about how they're going to do like the massive amount of world building needed to make a Dune make sense, but also, you know, keep the story going. Why does it seem that every leftist person usually have some yikes shit since 2012, going from Killer Mike to what we have now? I don't know. I don't know how to translate that. I don't really care for Crystal Ball. She's like Cenk Uygur, where she will stand for anyone who says something vaguely in line with their political ideals. Yeah, and she's There are better people to listen. There are better people to spend your time listening to, I will say that. Pac-Man put his weight behind Bolivia was not a coup theory, so I'm not too much of a fan. Yeah, forgot that he has some pretty yikes takes when it comes to South America stuff. You're running out of abuse you've gotten in the comments. How is that possible on YouTube? It's because Tristan Won't Shut Up is still a very young channel, so I haven't been called a lot of horrible things lately. Should keep checking. I've also deleted all of the old abuse, so I gotta wait for some new abuse before I can introduce myself every week or something. What if it turns out Q is a borderline omnipotent alien being? Now there's a fun short story. It's like what's it called? QAnon kind of reminds me a little bit of if that's like thank you Anarcho Commu for following. And look, a Phoebe showed up. Hello, girl. Hello. That kind of reminds me of not an alien thing, but isn't there like a thing in the Ender's Game series where like Ender's brother and sister start trying to change global politics via like some anonymous website or something? I don't remember. It's been a very, very long time since I read that book. I had a DM who kept forgetting we were having a casual session in a Chinese restaurant and kept putting on a bad Chinese accent. Oh, man. I want to do it right. If there was a legitimate civil war in America over this upcoming election, what kind of situation do you think Canada would be in, refugees and so on? Yeah, we would probably end up receiving a whole lot of American refugees. And a lot of our economy would be highly disrupted because the United States is the primary trading partner of Canada. And so Canada would be in like a huge would be like a complete economic disaster. And trying to figure out how to manage that would be a very big undertaking. So we'd be in complete chaos too. The other day, my brother said he thinks COVID will help Keir Starmer win the next election. Was I right to tell him that no one will remember how badly Boris fucked the pandemic response by 2024? I mean, I by 2024, I do think that's the same thing. The only thing I could, yeah. Plus, like, who knows? Boris might just, like... Hasn't it already been rumored, like, not too long ago that Boris Johnson is thinking of resigning over this? So... He also spoke 6 languages. Yeah, there's that. I mean, what Swiss person doesn't speak 6 languages, right? My mom is in the chat correcting me about details about my great-grandfather now. My dad's mom's family had a lot of communists in England, and one of them tried to stand for British Parliament for Communist Party. Cool. It's pretty sweet. I don't think I have any leftists in my family. No siree. I don't think so. I don't really know, and I'm kind of afraid to ask what the kind of political leanings of like my ancestors have been. If it's as real as the Finno-Korean hyperwar, does that mean it's hyper real? Yes. Trump voters really believe Trump's economy was the best ever. And they truly believe it is a rigged election. Yeah. Oh boy. Enthusiasm for Biden is non-existent, yeah. But enthusiasm for getting rid of Trump is pretty high. Would you have rather a president... Oh, that's not for me. Did the Inuit want to move into houses, or was this like, we must force the brown people to civilize type thing? I don't know. My guess is that probably both. I'm streaming and would love to chat. Mind if I share your stream on my stream from my desktop? Well, I don't think I can. I don't think I'm gonna set up a call. But if you want to set up and react or something, I guess you could do that. Can we talk about how the working class needs to revolt and take what is theirs? How many times are we going to let history repeat itself? USA, let go of the capitalist class solidarity, please. Capitalist class, yeah. What's it called? The working class definitely needs to, like, you know, shit or get off the pot. But, you know, you can't really, like, I don't know, like, it feels very liberal to sort of like individualize it like that. Like, oh, the problem is that people aren't rising up. And it's like, there's more systemic reasons behind these things. And just like shaming people into revolution is never going to work. Have you seen the episode of Clone High with the Australian Dragon? I don't think I've seen an episode of Clone High. I don't think I've seen a full episode of Clone High anyway. Not that I could think of. Jokes aside, wouldn't it be awesome if contacting our elected officials were just shouting over a hill? Yeah, what's it called? As an anarchist, I would love it if, like, you could have, like, you could make direct political change just by, like, yelling at somebody who lives down the road that you know that you're on first name basis with. I feel like our world would be a lot better if our political structure was that localized. Thank you, Noonian Spock. Thank you for following. And yes, there's a kitty here. What's it called? Google the three-body problem if you want an answer to it, because it has to do a lot with physics and math and stuff that I don't really know a whole lot about. You'd probably be best off. I think there was like a TED Ed video about the three-body problem. That's pretty good. But I'd Google it because there's definitely a lot of people explaining on the internet. I think it's a thing that if you get to the part of university where you start studying orbital mechanics, it's like one of the early things you learn, and it's probably one of the things you have to like learn for a test or something. Gosh, I'm getting almost caught up. You need your protein. There is hummus. Yeah, hummus is good. Man, I really wish you guys were fans of big RPG games. Like, I love video games that have like the linear story and stuff like that. It's just that, like, I have a very hard time getting around to playing video games that like require my entire attention, right? Because I'm like trying to keep up on podcasts, trying to keep up on YouTube, trying to keep up on all those things, like audiobooks and stuff like that. And TV shows, and holy shit, there's just so much content that has to be, like, you know, devoured, that like playing a video game, like, if it doesn't have a, you know, deadline or something like that, or if I can't play it while listening to something, I'll just never get around to actually doing it. That's my problem. Who's going to be Baron Harkonnen? What's his name? Something Sarsgaard. Soren Sarsgaard is playing Baron Harkonnen. Stellan Sarsgaard, that's his name. What's it called? He was, I'm trying to think of like he's in so many things. He was in. The thing I remember, the first thing that comes to mind that Stellan Sarsgaard was in was he was in Thor. And he was in the first Avengers movie, where he played sort of the elderly scientist. That was like sort of, what's her face? Natalie Portman's boss, supervisor. That's who I first think of when I think of who Stellan Sarsgaard is. But he's in a lot of stuff. He's a very prolific actor. Loved your videos on Macnovia and Revolutionary Catalonia. Thank you. What's it called? Matt, Thought Slime didn't know about me. He was like, "Oh, like what is this Tristan guy? Like why would I want to pay attention to him?" And apparently, it was my Nestor Mackno video that made him realize that I was somebody he needed to reach out to. And there's this DM that he sent me, like a Twitter DM, like from like months and months and months ago. This is back when Thought Slime was like a tiny YouTube channel, and he wanted to get coffee. And we went and we got coffee one time, and we talked about YouTube and stuff like that. And I had already seen his video because I don't know if Kevin Logan's in the chat, but I saw Kevin Logan post the Thought Slime video about political correctness or whatever. And so I already knew about him. And I had a podcast called YouTubers United, which was a podcast about growing a YouTube channel. And apparently Matt had been a listener of that too. And so all those things together kind of, when he found out that I lived in Toronto, sort of put us together. And also his partner, she kind of pushed him to do it too. Tristan, do you only play strategy games? No. Right now, the games I'm playing in regular rotation are Crusader Kings 3 because it's brand new and I love it so much. Fall Guys, although like I'm really bad at it. WoW Classic, just as something to play while I'm like tuning out and not paying attention to things. And Hearthstone, which is a card game. I play a certain mode of that doesn't require money to play. So I play a lot of different video games. The only video game that I don't really play are shooters, but even then there are some shooters that I would play too if I was, under the gun. Like if a progressive has any flaw, they get shit on, but a centrist or lib or whatever has a flaw, the full defense force comes out and you get shit on for any criticism. Yeah. How do you complain about the CCP but also praise communism? Because the Communist Party of China is his base is like doing state capitalism and has outlawed unions and is basically like, I don't know, doesn't seem super communist to me. What's it called? A country that has such stark wealth inequality and it has like such massive corporations doesn't feel super communist in my mind. They have the weird thing where it's like, we're communist, but like, let's like embrace capitalism super tight. And it's like, okay, sure. My grandma told me a story about how she and her husband... Oh, I got a new follower. Hey, Lichines, thank you for following. My grandma told me a story about she and her husband, both teachers, didn't join a big strike with all the teachers because they thought it was silly. We live in Denmark, and I try to sleep sometimes. Oh, damn, that sucks. Hey, thank you, Mechanithrall. Thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. Get to see my dad dab there for a sec. Lightning round. Thoughts on Canadian Dimension. Don't know what it is. The Tai. Don't know what it is. Rabble.ca. I almost worked for Rabble.ca. They were going to hire me to... God damn, what were they going to hire me to do? They were doing this... They were starting this new business where they were going to basically set up like social media stuff for like non-profits and activist groups and stuff like that to make a little bit extra money. So I went through actually like a 2-day training thing with all of the Rabble.ca people. So I'm actually like Facebook friends with all of the Rabble people, and I spent like a good amount of time with like a lot of the people who run Rabble. So yeah, they're pretty cool. I don't know Rank and File, I don't know Ricochet, and I don't know Passage. I feel like I've heard of the Tai before, but I don't know anything about them. Did your grandpa have anything to do with you becoming a pacifist? Not really. This is my great-grandfather, not my grandfather. My grandfather, who was a Mason, was not the son of my great-grandfather. It was on a different side of the family altogether, actually. The The Inuit were forced as the Cold War started up. The government wanted to more thoroughly settle the North to avoid Soviets from snatching up the North. That wouldn't surprise me. But, you know. What if we had a big, long wooden table in a big hall? I mean, that'd be fun. Maybe in this day and age, not so much because of COVID, but, you know, besides that. Yeah, don't buy Sabra. That's true. It's not BDS compliant. You're supporting Israel if you buy Sabra. But, you know. Boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, please. I want to manage your... Oh. What are your podcasts called? The old podcast that I was talking about doesn't exist anymore. It was called YouTubers United, and it is. I haven't done like YouTubers United hasn't been a thing since like 2017. Then I was on a podcast called So That Happened. Thank you, Bear Grylls Beard. Thank you, Bear Grylls Beard Drills. Bear Grylls Bear Drills. Thank you for following, and thank you for that fun tongue twister. There's also what's it called? So That Happened, which is just a thing I do whenever Cody asks me to do it. But I don't know when that's. I don't know when those happen. They just kind of happen whenever Cody makes them happen. He's the actor everyone recognized by their face. Yeah. The U.S. goes full fascism, will anyone come to our rescue? I don't know. The U.S. the international reaction to like a fascist America would be quite terrifying. I don't know what the answer to that would be. What are your thoughts on cuties? So complicated. I don't exactly have. It's one of those things where like I feel like. It's one of those issues where I can feel fairly compelling arguments for both sides of the quote-unquote issue. Like, first of all, the marketing was fucking awful and disgusting to look at, that's for sure. But that wasn't the movie's fault. That was Netflix's fault. But then what I've heard, and I don't know the answer to whether or not this is like a thing that's worth, like, a thing that is good to do. But basically, it's a movie about... So, Cuties is this Netflix film, or this indie film, that Netflix picked up. That's about sort of like the child dancing troupe scene, which is like, you know, people have been criticizing it for years because it basically is like this weird scene where like girls who are like as young as like 10, like 8, 10, 12 years old are doing these extremely sexually provocative dances and dressing in very sexually provocative ways, and sort of like this very objective, very creepy thing that like, I don't know why people are doing it. It's really like, and it's got like the scene is like very gross, and as far as I know, like a lot of people hate this shit. Hey, thank you, Bear Grylls Bear Drills. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for putting some food in that cat's belly. So the movie comes out, and from what I know about the movie is that it is, the movie is a criticism of this scene and how it sexually exploits children. Which, like, okay, that's a good thing for a movie to have. That's a good movie, thank you. But then also, in making said movie that has said criticisms, it does feature scenes where they got child actors to dance in the sort of way, because it's like a fictional movie, it's not a documentary or anything like that, to dance in the way that they dance in the show, like in these shows. And, you know, you could consider that the sexual, like, you know, this doing the same kind of thing that these dance competitions do. Which, like, you know, not great. And I don't have, like, I've thought about it, and like both of those are compelling arguments. Like, the movie is making a statement about why these things are bad, but also maybe if you think these things are bad, you probably shouldn't, like, you know, have those things in said film. Although then you can make the argument, well, like you have to in order to make the point about how gross these things are, and at that point I hit a wall. I don't really have a good answer. But yeah. My country's conservative government is propping up the dying gas industry. Well, that sucks. My country's liberal government is propping up the dying gas industry, so... The other day you said you met Contra at a convention before she transitioned. I won't ask you what it is, but does that mean you know her dead name? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've met Contra 3 times now. I met her once in 2017, and that was pre-transition. That was the time we just hung out at a party. That was actually the day before, like, the infamous, like, IHOP photo. That was the VidCon where the controversial IHOP photo came out, and it was at the same time that Lacey Green was kind of doing her heel turn and becoming an anti-SJW, and it was the time I also, at that same party, met Anita Sarkeesian right before fucking Sargon of Akkad tried to, like, you know, threaten her at VidCon. So, like, that was I was talking to all of those people, like, the day before all that shit went down, which is weird. The IHOP photo, yeah, there was a photo of, I think, like, a bunch of, like, BreadTube wasn't a word that existed back then, but it was a picture of a bunch of, like, big left-wing YouTubers hanging out with, like, some people who at the time were considered, like, reactionary YouTubers, like I think the Shoe Zero N Head and some other folks. I don't exactly remember. It was a controversy that that sort of lasted for a little while, but every time I go to VidCon, I'm not cool enough to hang out with them. One day I will be. I got to. Oh no, wait! I met Natalie on a couple other occasions, because in 2018 we had dinner together. But, like, it was like this dinner where, like, she invited me to the dinner. Like, I got to go because she was there, but because of the way we sat at, like, a long table, we didn't really get to talk much, and I ended up hanging out, sitting next to Lindsay Ellis and talking with her for a couple hours. But I was at that dinner with Sage from Just Right, and Adam from what's it called? From like, for PBS Digital Studios, and Natalie was there, and the hell's that other girl's name? Trying to remember. She's like, what's it called? She does the Disney stuff. She's I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering this name, because I watch her videos all the time. Jenny Nicholson. Jenny Nicholson was at that party, and yeah, that was a pretty fun dinner. And Kelly was with me. Hi, Kelly. And then I met with her a bit later at the same convention, because she was having a meetup at Disneyland. So that stuff. That was the one where I ended up hanging out with Scutch a whole lot. That was fun. All right. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, this is what I was looking for. Nice D&D collection. Thank you. You almost worked for Rabble. That's some legit shit. Yeah. Especially because Rabble is mostly volunteers. So there's very few people who actually get hired to do stuff. But basically, yeah, I was going to be hired to be... It's funny, I can't actually remember what I was going to be hired to do for Rabble. Exactly. It was like social media stuff for functions and stuff. It was strange. It never got off the ground, so I never actually did any of these things. It never actually manifested, but it was a good few days hanging out with a bunch of leftists who are interested in making podcasts. It was podcasting. That was it. It was a service where Rabble was going to record events and stuff like that and release them as podcasts for different activist groups and stuff like that. And that was going to be the service that we were going to do for a fee as a way to get Rabble to get a little bit more money, because right now it just relies on donations. And so that was what we were going to do. Have you discussed the ICE whistleblower news? As someone that likes history, it's chilling. It is chilling. We've talked about it a little bit. I haven't read on it. I've just heard, the headlines, and I think that to only be fair to you guys, I would only talk about something if I knew a bit about it. So I'd have to I have to read some articles. All right. For anyone who doesn't know, Rabble.ca is a left-wing, a left-wing Canadian political blog that's pretty prominent, and yeah, it's Rabble.ca. It's a pretty good site. Speaking of Netflix, have you seen Unorthodox? I finished it and thought it was really good. I have not seen it. Would it surprise you to know Peter Coffin is antiquated with liberal podcast man? He views an equal relationship, but when I've seen Peter discuss it alone, he's like, this is me talking to a misguided liberal to get my ideas to a wider audience. I don't know who's liberal podcast man. And antiquated? Do you mean acquainted? Who's liberal podcast man? Are you talking about what's his face? Fucking Joe Rogan? I don't know who liberal podcast man is. I'm probably going to find out who he is in a second. Or is it Destiny? Does Destiny have a podcast? I don't know. Shoe on Head and Armored Skeptic. Yeah, that was it. So tired of people acting like Shoe on Head is left wing. She's fucking married to Armored Skeptic for Learning It Out Loud. I didn't know they were married, but also, I am totally on board for forgiving. If Shoe on Head wants to be a progressive and say progressive things, that's fine. I'm happy for her. I don't know if she's taken down the videos that she's been openly transphobic and anti-feminist for years, that she would profit off of. If she has, then I'm totally happy to start, hanging out with her again. But I was nervous, but that hasn't happened yet. Is it just him in the audience, or did Carl pack the entire front row with reactionaries? That was it. That's the moment I was talking about. Oh, so you and Adam from Your Movie Sucks, and I was like, damn, Tristan would not get along with Your Movie Sucks. That dude's pretty reactionary. No, it was Adam's a guy behind the scenes at PBS Digital Studios. I know a handful of people at PBS Digital Studios. I also know because it was 2019 that I met some people from Wisecrack and stuff like that. So that was fun. I got knowing Alec from Wisecrack ended up with me getting interviewed for an article that he wrote on demonetization. What does Kelly believe in politics? I think right now Kelly's politics are kind of in flux. I mean, she would need to answer for those herself, but I don't think she has a label for her political beliefs at this moment, but it has definitely veered pretty far to the left in 2020, especially seeing all the bullshit Bernie Sanders had to go through. Have you met Ollie? Yes. He was also at VidCon in 2018, and we hung out at... We actually spent a good chunk of one of the days together. Him and me and Scott from NerdSync actually hung out for quite a bit, and we just kind of explored the floor together. We got lunch, and then we were at the same meetup a little bit later that week. So yeah, I've met Ollie. Before what's it called? Before COVID happened, I was like in late March, I was supposed to go on a trip to Europe. And I was going to go to London, and I was going to see him, and I was going to go see the Dracula show that he was playing in, he was acting in, and we were probably going to hang out, and I was going to meet up with Mia Mulder and stuff too. But COVID sort of shut that down real quick, so I don't even know when I'll be able to do that again. What can be done to include more women in academic philosophy? I'm tired of seeing white men dominating metaphysics, and it's like women philosophers are pushed into teaching and women's studies and feminist theory. I don't know. Less sexism in the hiring process? Like the fact that there's not a ton of women who are given tenure track jobs in philosophy programs or philosophy departments and stuff like that seems like a pretty good thing to catch. Is Toronto being affected by West Coast fires? As far as I know, no. But the sun is... apparently the sun was hazy today because of the fires. The guy in the bookcase, he knows Peter Coffin. Oh, shit. Okay. All right. I'm getting close. We're already over time. So I'm just going to try to catch up real quick. Thank you, Phenomenomicus, for following. If you read anything by Yves Engler, he's an activist who's written extensively on Canadian foreign policy. I haven't. Okay. So I think that is, it is 10:02. You guys got a few extra minutes out of me. My throat is fucking destroyed right now. So let's call it an evening. In the meantime, let us... What's it called? Let's raid... Oh, it looks like there's something interesting going on. Oh, wait, no. I'm not going to raid somebody where Destiny's on. Fuck that. Oh, that's a debate reaction. And she's not at her thing right now. So let's raid... Fuck it, let's go raid Adam Conover. Let's do this. Let's go say hi to Adam Conover. Thank you, Boogsy, for following. I'll be back on Friday with the reactor. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Stay safe.